Hey everyone, welcome back to another Fear the Old Lore stream of Elden Ring version 1.00. Nice to have you all back. Yesterday we kind of left off going through Stormvale, crashing on Margit for a while, and showing off a little bit of the different enemy placements. So we're going to pick it up back there for now. I'll show off the cool enemy that we showed off at the end of the last stream, just to kind of give us a bit of a refresher, and also I think it's really cool and I want to show it off again. So Canchel, welcome, and El Degusta, welcome back in. Competing against internet juggernauts like Fish Tank. I don't know who Fish Tank is, so maybe I should at this point, I don't know. But I hope you're all doing well. So for any new watchers, we're just kind of going through, looking at some of the major differences in the unpatched version of the game, and just having some fun while we do it. I said before in the last stream that I'll probably go pick up the twin blades and use them, since I never really did before. So after I show off this one enemy, that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to go get the twin blades, and then I'm going to work on damn it. And then that got buffered. I'm going to work on looking at some of the NPCs. I don't think there's really too many major differences for this first part of the game. I think there's something a little bit different about patches, but I honestly don't remember. Ooh. The Banished Knight's Halberd. I don't remember if that one's different. I'm pretty sure it's mostly just like the armor. Chapes, welcome in. And Little Nimrod, nice to see you again. I'm doing pretty well. How about you guys? So we got the Banished Knight's Halberd. Finely crafted halberd featuring ancient ornamentation. Given to knights banished from their homes for reasons unclear, perhaps as a mark of reprimand. The majority of them were sent to the fringes, where they put down roots with only their own heartbreak for company. No, so this one is different. I don't exactly remember the retail version. Let me pull it up. Oh yeah, I should also probably link the 1.0 comparison text spreadsheet. It should be in the video description as well, but for the sake of the chat, I'm going to go ahead and paste it here. So if you guys want to look at any items on your own, or as we go along, you're free to do so. So which one is that? The Banished Knight Halberd. Gotta scroll through all the different versions of the halberd. Wait, no, this does look like the same. Wait. So the current version says, it's a finely crafted halberd intricately engraved with an ancient motif, given to knights who, whether by misfortune or misdeed, were forced to abandon their homes. Most of these knights were sent to the fringes, where they were forced to start anew with only despair for company. So it just seems like they might have just touched it up to make the language flow a bit better. Mostly the same. I think yeah, pretty much the only real difference is talking about potentially being reprimanded. So that's kind of interesting, but okay. We'll leave that there for now. Hey, Rat, welcome. Latest version of that weapon has basically the same description. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so it's mostly the armor that has a lot of the differences, those and the spells and whatnot. The funny thing is, now that I added a countdown to my intro screen, I found out that it is about a 10-second chat delay. I thought it'd be lower than that on low latency, but what you gonna do? Radon looks like Grunbeld? Who's Grunbeld? Rolled too soon. Alright, so I'll probably die to the next enemy whether I want to or not. I think my rune should be over there too, now that I think about it. So once I show this thing off, I will go back through the NPCs. We already met Alexander, so I guess we could go see Bernal, Patches, Selin, Blaidd, and then make our way over to Caelid to go see Millicent. And welcome back, Vacuous. From Berserk. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm just really bad at remembering names. It's also been a long time since I've read Berserk. I was, waiting for more chapters to come out so I could just binge watch it, or binge read it. And then, yeah. So, in this version of the game, we have a random-ass bell-bearing hunter appearing here. He's gonna kick my ass, because he just has, like, a ridiculous amount of HP. I was about to talk crap and say he doesn't hit that hard, but then he just, like, almost legitimately two-shot me. Oh, I forgot that part of the move. So, I think this guy might, wow, have more HP than Margit in this version of the game. Let's go die in a more opportune spot. I guess there is no good opportune spot. I could hop down there and try to go for the other side of Grace. I think that's what I'm going to have to do. Because there's no way I'm going to be able to deal with that bell-bearing hunter right now. As I said at the last stream, I'm pretty sure they drop like a jar item in this version of the game, and obviously they're not there in the retail patch. But the juice is not worth the squeeze trying to like really duke it out with him. I might get got before I get there. Damn. I tried to roll, didn't have the stamina. Pursuer moment. Yeah, he does kind of look like, or act like the pursuer in this version. No damage Millennia run when? When indeed. I'm not super into like doing the challenge mode stuff myself. Just because like it goes from that part of being enjoyable to more tedious to me, so I just don't do like a ton of challenge runs for that kind of reason. Because for me personally, I feel like when you do that kind of stuff, it becomes less about like interacting with the bosses and it's more about like exploiting certain moves, which is perfectly valid, but it's just not something that interests me a lot. Ooh, that was close. Okay. Oh yeah, Nimrod. So this is version 1.00, so this is like the base disc version of the game. So there is going to be a bunch of different enemy placements and like different descriptions, and so there aren't like a lot of chances for people to see that. Like you kind of have to go out of your way now, and it's really easy to accidentally update the game. So I think it's kind of fun to show this stuff off and compare it to like what we have at the retail version. So like one of the things that we noticed on yesterday's stream was about like the living jars and how it said that there were experiments in like trying to attain immortality. So that kind of threw me for a loop. Yeah, a remnant of bygone research into eternal life. So I'm pretty confident that's not in the retail version of the game, but alright, I got my runes. I'm going to level up a couple times and then go get the twin blades. Oh, we should also talk to Yura. I'm just going to level vigor to begin with because most of the damage is really going to come from upgrading weapons. So I'll get rid of the stats that are like less interesting, so that way upgrades feel, or like when I finally like get to the point where I can like upgrade the other stats, it'll just kind of all start coming together. Platypus, welcome back. What is my favorite ending? Yours is Gold Mask. That's a good question. In some ways, it is ironically or unironically like the Lord of Frenzied Flame ending, just because I really don't like a lot of the other endings, and I feel like that's my kind of a retribution for not enjoying them so much. The first time I played through the game, I picked Fia's ending, and if it wasn't just like a reskin of a bunch of the other endings, I'd probably enjoy it more, but that just kind of like kills it for me, because the way that her quest goes, it makes it sound like it's a much bigger deal than it ends up really being. Excuse me. Really? Okay. Rat asks if they've released Cheat Engine. Yes, they have. You want to start doing some digging and see if they have any unreleased weapons like the Smoldering Longsword. I know that there was like the one Twin Blade from Mikola and Millennia, although that might have been like a little bit doctored. I'm not entirely sure. I don't keep track of that stuff super well, but yeah, that is a thing. Do you know how much of the stuff from the old gameplay trailer is in this? You're curious about the context of that fire chariot at Stormvale. So there isn't the fire chariot in this version of the game. I would need to double check that trailer because it's been a while since I've watched it, and to compare it to 1.0 specifically would be a little bit more taxing. Or wait, I'm pretty sure the big troll is still there, but if the chariot was anywhere, I would assume it would be where the troll is before Godric, but I don't remember. What's wrong with the other endings? It's pretty much that they're just reskins with like a color filter attached. So there's like nothing wrong with them, but they're just kind of disappointing, which is pretty par for the course as far as like a lot of FromSoft endings go, if we're being really honest. So, yeah, I would probably like Fia's ending more if there was more to it. Gold Mask, I don't fully understand. It just seems like deism, and I don't really understand how his Envision of Order would be that different from Marika's Golden Order. And Dung Mask, I can respect, or Dung Mask, wow, Dung Eater, I can respect what he's trying to do, but it's just like another reskin with poop-colored sky. And then Ranni's ending, I just wasn't that big of a fan of it. Like, I'm not a Ranni simp. There's also the fire pellet in the debate parlor instead of the Red Wolf. So I'm pretty confident the Red Wolf is still in 1.0. Like, I'm 90% sure. But speaking of, like, me being confident about things earlier, I did go back and check with Gideon being death-blightable, and at least in the most current retail version of the game, he isn't death-blightable anymore, which is really confusing to me, because he used to be. It might just because they wanted to make a boss not be cheesable, but I thought it was a really cool strat. I mean, it's kind of hard to get him to stand in the mist for so long anyway, but I am disappointed that you can't death-blight him any longer. So, with that being said, I do want to like double check that you can still deathblight him in 1.00. So that's something I'm going to go do for sure. So I'll just need to remember to do that when we get there. Dung Mask, yeah. Alright, so let's talk to our boy Yura.
You must be the new Tarnished. You do well to steer clear of a Gill Lake fledgling. A dragon roosts there, and it's as fearsome as it is majestic. So, unless you're mad or wish to be burned alive, stay clear of the lake. Don't be a fool. Turn back before it's too late.
In some ways, it's worth fighting Yura now just to get the Naga Kibas super early, but I'm not going to fight him. Like, he's not super difficult to fight, even at super low levels. Although I think the last time I did it, like, the first thing I did was just zoomed all the way up to Liurnia to get Hoarfrost Stomp, and that pretty much just deletes most things in this game, at least in this version, rather. Magister Ludi, welcome back to the stream. Do I have any thoughts on the identity of the intro cinematic narrator? Is there any significance to our character being referred to as dead who yet live? Those are good questions. I know, like, the dead who yet live just kind of goes to show like what a tarnished kind of is. Like, you're dead, but you're not like those who live in death. So you do have like a separate kind of existence. You die, but you come back to life. So it just kind of the way that FromSoft sets up like a lot of their games with having like replayable areas and like death being like canon to the game but also not. That's just kind of what they do in most of their games. Well, they're Soulsborns and stuff. I guess like Armored Core would probably be the exception, but we'll. I'm not too familiar with that franchise, to be honest. Just walk into a fiery stick, why don't I? Pretty sure, yeah, that's the teleporter trap. So I'll leave that alone for now. Get a Fringe Folk rune. Oh yeah, so as to the identity of the narrator, I don't really think it has to be anybody in the game. I think the voice actor reminds me of Horalu, but it doesn't sound like him talking. You'd probably have to look at the list. He also kind of sounds like Yura, but it would probably be easier to just look at the list of voice actors and see who's credited for the narrator. So we still get the Twin Blade in this version of the game. A sword with blades on both sides of the hilt. This weapon is difficult to wield and demands high dexterity. Can be wielded with a single hand, but its true strength is unlocked with dual-handed spinning attacks. Wait. I think I'm lacking the strength. Go. I should have leveled a different stat. Okay. We'll keep using the katana for now. Let me scroll back up here. Somebody paid off by Gideon. Welcome back, Platypus. Headcanon is Godwin. That's interesting. Armored Core has an actual story. You're not just wandering looking for the right way to go? Okay. Is Bloodborne still my favorite from game, or is it Elden Ring? So it's kind of like apples and oranges. Like, I do like Bloodborne more for like how cohesive it is. I do also enjoy Elden Ring for how open it is. But with that being said, I feel like Elden Ring suffers the most on repeated playthroughs just because, like, the maps are so wide, and after you kind of explore things, that kind of kills the reason to go, like, see it on a playthrough too. Like, you can only explore something for the first time once, and, like, once that, like, mystery's gone, like, it gets rid of a lot of the, like, X factor, I guess. I don't know what else to call it. I thought Yura's summon sign was here. Maybe it's not in this version of the game. Or is it actually, like, more in the ruins? Well, we couldn't see Roger's earlier. You die in Armored Core and have to restart missions. They don't disappear, so it's more gamified in that respect. Okay, that makes sense. I was wondering, like, if your mechs get destroyed, where you just, like, rebuild it with parts and stuff, as opposed to, like, you literally coming back from the dead. But yeah, I mean, they're all games at the end of the day. Alright, so do I want to fight Egil now? Not really. So let's go see Nereus and Patches. And we already talked to Dee yesterday at Summon Water Village and got the Death Root. So we'll just leave that alone for now. We will fight Egil eventually. But there's really, like, no need to do it now. Oh, this is... I was not paying attention where I was going. That's the tunnel. Cantrell's come to discover how limited the lore seems to be with Elden Ring compared to past games. You see the same subjects covered by most channels because the lore is so obscure. I mean, yeah, in some ways, like, Elden Ring is really robust in terms of, like, its world building, but I also think it feels the most sparse at the same time, like, even more so than Dark Souls 1. I guess I'll take that back, because, I mean, there's always Demon Souls, and that one is, really vague in its lore and stuff like that, but I don't think most people really count Demon Souls as, like, a part of, like, the flagship titles, just because of, like, how much of a developmental wreck that game was, and they just kind of, like, salvaged what they had. So we should get Nereus and Yura to help join us. Oh yeah, Nereus can actually kill us. I probably should pay attention to this. And what I mean by kill us is like, this dude's bleed procs are obscene. Okay. That's what I was worried about. Yeah, when I first got the Reduvia from Nereus, I was like, holy crap, the weapons of this game are going to be amazing. And then this was kind of like one of the most unique ones. That feels bad. Wait, he didn't say anything about Nereus. Maybe that was bugged in this game. Or this version. And then he just dips out immediately. Reduvia. I didn't mean to gesture. Wait, do you gesture with that button? Apparently you do. Okay. Jagged dagger with a distinctive curved blade used by the noble servants of the Lord of Blood. This dagger rips the flesh as it enters, inflicting blood loss with sickening efficacy. A proud testament to the success of its vicious design, this weapon is perpetually coated in blood. And you get the Reduvia Blood Blade, which is essentially like Blood Blade, but better. The weird thing is, like, the way Nereus uses Reduvia makes it seem way better than it actually is. Or maybe it's because we're like such a low level, but I did not have nearly as much success as he did in the usage. I don't have a torch yet. I don't really need one, but it would be nice for these kinds of areas. I could go see Kale now. Yeah, okay, I have enough runes. I'll go out of the cave and then see Kale and catch up with the chat. I should also probably get the map fragment. There. Demon Souls is so robust and complex in its lore that stumps lore channels to this day. Elden Ring has the turtle hope willing to happily explain half the zone's lore. Where in any of the Dark Souls games do we get that? So in Dark Souls, I need to think about that. I mean, you do have like all the characters in Firelink Shrine. They don't describe nearly as much. Like, there is more exposition in Elden Ring for sure, but a lot of it doesn't really end up going anywhere. Like, one of the most frustrating things to me about like Elden Ring is, despite like having direct contact with like a lot of the major characters of the story and whatnot, we still don't understand like a lot of their motivations for like what they actually did, which is kind of really annoying and simultaneously surprising, I guess. You feel like that most people think Elden Ring's lore is less comprehensive is because it's newer and we're still laying out the basics for the most part? I think part of it is like, at this point in the life cycle of the other games, they've all had like their DLCs release and all that. So there is more stuff to unpack, and a lot of the stuff in like the supplementary content builds on what's in the base game, even if it doesn't like directly comment on a lot of things. If that makes sense. It's a little bit vague, but I guess I didn't need to put the torch away. You can turn off the motion input for gestures, thankfully. Okay, I didn't know that. You wish you could do that in Bloodborne? Yeah. Let me look that up. I mean, it doesn't really bother me. It's just kind of the first time. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay. Good to know. Thank you. You think DS3 is the worst looking Souls game due to every area being decrepit and dead and reusing areas of previous games? I don't really feel that way. I think DS3 looks good in its own way, but I do understand like people being disappointed with it. I personally don't like the look of DS2 the most. Even though people are like, oh, that one has the most color. I don't know, it just did not hit for me. Has anyone ever managed to use Bloodborne's gestures with those awkward controllers? Oh yeah, Rat's right. Like, the primordial serpents do drop a lot of the lore in Dark Souls, so that's definitely comparable to Turtle Pope. The exposition's from Martin, but you can't tie things together beyond that. People are still coming up with theories on when this happened or who did what. And yeah, that's like one of the other more difficult aspects of Elden Ring specifically. Like, you don't know, quote unquote, like how much came from Software versus like George R.R. Martin. I think people give George a lot more credit than he probably contributed. And I think most of that really just comes from like Miyazaki being a fan and like wanting to build a kind of budding a budding relationship. So speaking of budding, this chest is brimming with spoils, as you can tell. And that's not terribly uncommon for 1.00, where like there's not going to be items where you'd expect them to be. Like, I think yesterday I picked up a smithing stone at Stormvale instead of like one of the aristocrat sets or like the commoner set, something like that. But first-hand experience here. Yeah, try to figure out Dark Souls lore without all the DLCs and even like the sequels. Yeah, it'd be really difficult. I think trying to like Dogeza like patches in this version of the game like didn't work properly.
Well, well, well. Thought you'd just help yourself to a man's personal belongings, huh? You scheming little thief. The gods demand repentance. Cough up your coin. All of it.
I don't remember if... No, he could probably kill us. He might have a death quote, right? Okay, let's get got by patches.
You'll find out when you get to Helm. There's a special circle for rotten thieves like you.
Yeah, and so with like George R.R. Martin's contributions to the game, I feel like it's more like backstory for stuff that doesn't really affect the actual game, if that makes sense. Like, Miyazaki probably just made like a bunch of characters and was like, yo, George, write something cool about these things. And like, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point like we get like extra stories based on what George R.R. Martin wrote, but I'd also be surprised, or not, I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't get them. I stole his trash and that's worth murder. In Patches' book, yeah, I mean, he's essentially a grave robber, a corpse looter, as we mentioned yesterday. So we got some highwayman gloves worn by cave-dwelling foot soldiers. This was a different armor set in retail. I don't remember the actual name of it because it's like one of the ones that doesn't really matter, but even less text in this version of the game. He filled in the past and the backdrop, didn't really create the characters or the current state of the scenario. Yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. I mean, I could be wrong, but I really don't think he actually influenced like the, you know, the world of the game so much as like he expanded on what they already had there. Wow. Patches lost his guard counter. I can relate. Feels bad, man.
Wait, please. I surrender. White flag finally come round, have you? I knew you would. You're a man of reason. True and true.
Where is it?
Well, what do you know? You're tarnished, like me. Now, how did I get that wrong? I took you for a demi-human or some such. Well, an innocent mistake, I assure you. Well, water under the bridge. Now we're squared up. How about we play nice from now on?
I think he mostly says the same thing, but let's just be mean because Patches is a jerk.
Slow down, son. What's the matter? This simply isn't like you. You've always known an innocent mistake when you see one. Well, suit yourself. I'm Patches. Patches the Untethered. Tarnished like you, only free-spirited. Nomadic, you might say. Only for now, those retired soldiers turned bandits. They're paying for my gruel. In exchange for my, well, showing them the ropes. But honestly, this looting racket is bloody terrifying. I'm ready to wash my hands clean. Maybe set up a legitimate shop. So don't be a stranger. I'll be ready to wheel and deal come next time.
Obligatory DS2 reference with Gavlan, whatever, and his wheeling and dealing. So I feel like that's a bit of a like localizer nod to the previous titles. So you guys said that Patches would hide under a shield. I do kind of remember that. I think he might still do that though, but we'll see.
Don't forget to pop back for another visit, friend. I'll be ready to wheel and deal come next time.
Untethered from Grace? That's a good question. I don't know. Mortis, Mercy, welcome back in, as well as Boris Dragosani, welcome in, and Tim, nice to see you again. Patches wheel, Patches deal.
Don't forget to pop back for another visit, friend.
I'm afraid to keep hitting him.
Deal come next time.
It might kill him before he like gets super pissed off, but we'll see.
What are you playing at? That bloody well hurts. What's wrong with you? It's me, Patches. Patches. Enough now. Stop.
I like how he says like, you're not like this, like he actually knows us.
Hearing, are we? Fine. Have it your way. You'll get what's coming. Don't go thinking I'm a soft touch.
So I think he like needs to deal enough damage to us before he tells us to like kneel. Oh wait, he gained a lot of HP back. Okay.
Bit of advice for
Oops.
when you get to hell, try not to be so slow on the uptake, eh?
Thanks, Katie. I'd appreciate that. Yeah. So I do think George did have a bit of an influence in terms of like the way they wanted to build the world, but I don't think he influenced the story kind of like Katie said, just more like the quote unquote unwritten history of the world. And like one of the weirder things about that is I think it's like the story cinematic, which isn't actually in the game, where it says like the demigods were driven mad by their runes. So like the power of their runes specifically like twisted them. And that's kind of interesting to me because
Well, nice of you to drop in finally. It's all a bit ad hoc, but I'm sure you'll find something. And welcome to Patch's Emporium, where you won't need a refund, because everything's top-notch.
so yeah, I don't think there's reasons for like the demigods. Hold on, let me rephrase that. I don't think there's like, I wonder what the demigods were like before they went mad, if they actually went mad specifically. If that makes sense. I kind of like rambled and lost my train of thought in that.
Yeah, I had those bandits make a clean break. Now they're all suppliers, and good ones at that. I mean, They don't understand a word I'm saying, but it hardly matters. We have a natural connection. They're all foot soldiers, survivors of a defeated army, worked to the bone by their high and mighty lord, only to be thrown out with the rubbish. It's the same old story everywhere I go. To hell with it all.
So yeah, with what you guys are bringing up, like one thing that feels more like George to me than like FromSoft would be like the Two Fingers, but I don't really know. Yeah, there's just like a lot of lingering questions about that. I'd like to know more, but on the other hand, I kind of also wouldn't, in case it just like kind of spoils things. But I don't know. Are they saying the infighting was them being driven mad? Yeah, because like the shadow, like America tells the demigods to like go kill each other, otherwise they'll amount to nothing more than sacrifices. But the story trailer says that they were driven mad by the power of the runes. And it's a little bit weird because, like, if that were true, like, why does Millennia, like, not finish off Godric? Like, she makes him growl for mercy. Why doesn't Radahn finish off Godric when he's, like, sieging the castle? We talked about that yesterday. Like, I think it's possible, like, he didn't want to destroy more of, like, Godfrey's castle. So he's like, okay, you learned your lesson, you little, weakling. And so he just kind of, like, did his own thing after that. But I don't know. Did you get the Pauper's Rune instead of the Grovel for Mercy emote? You're supposed to get an emote from beating patches. No, we did get the emote. I'll show it off.
Cheers for that.
Oh, he didn't call me a stingy little beggar. So yeah, we got the Grovel emote. I put that one on. So if I aggro him, I might be able to piss him off enough where he tells me to beg, but that might not be in this version of the game. So we'll check that out in a second. What age would I like to see that couldn't get in the game? Would it be an Age of Unalloyed Gold, Rot, or Moog's Age? Rot would be cool. I think probably something more aligned with the Godslayers for me. Or Moog's Age would also be really nice, because there's a lot of stuff to go along with that we just don't get.
Forgot something on your shopping list? No trouble to me.
Yeah, Morgott held out like a champ, and he was unloved for it. Go figure.
Wondering what's inside the treasure chest. Well, it's nothing too special. Just something I'm saving as thanks for a very valuable customer. But then again, it would fetch some spectacular coin. And besides, this valuable customer could be a long time coming. Huh? Everything is give and take. Give and take.
Yeah, so Boris brings up an interesting point about like how there's the uninformed informants, but I'd also say that's very much been a FromSoft trope for a very long time. Like Dark Souls is filled with those kinds of characters, Demon Souls even, and Bloodborne for sure. Characters like Selen kind of follow the trope of like scholars or mentors who seem to know a lot about the world, but they kind of get got by their own hubris, by their own misunderstandings of like the basic nature of it. So like Sage Frake had a similar thing happen to him in Demon Souls. Oh wait, no, not Frake, the other dude, the Saint guy. Either way, that happened in Demon Souls. In Bloodborne, you can point out like Headmaster Willem and even Lawrence. So not to take anything away from like George's influence or anything like that. He should give you 2 emotes. Yeah, he gives you the Dogezo one, which I forget what they called it in English. Like when you piss him off the second time. Mbasa. Saint Urbane, maybe. Caged Wizard trope. And Corin is another example. Thanks for bringing up the Caged Wizard, Ludi. Yeah, people try to control it, cannot be controlled and suffer for it. Yeah, like all of the pyromancy in Dark Souls 1 is another good example. Thank you, Mortis. Do all of them characters' names sound awkward to native English speakers? Because they always do to your Russian ear. So, they don't sound awkward, but I will say that the way that most of the characters' names are spelled are made to sound exotic, or look exotic rather, because I think the way like Miyazaki works, he probably does work closely with a localization team or like English speakers or whatever when he's deciding on names, because he does put like a lot of value in them. And the way that like loanwords carry over into Japanese, they sound more exotic. And so if they kind of want to transfer the feeling of exoticness to like Western audiences, they probably like name they probably come up with like spelling of names which are like a bit different from the norm. Like Mikola would be one. Like a lot of the Bloodborne names, like I can only think of like the common names like Ariana and Annalise. Those are fine. Lawrence is spelled a little bit like in a more exotic fashion. Willem instead of like William, things like that. You can barely spell anyone's names from this game. Alright, so let's check out his inventory. We got our gold pickled fowl-foot. Oh yeah, I could read all this stuff. Should have gotten the shackle. That would have made Margit easier as well. But this is a fetish bathed in golden magic. Shackles were used to bind the accursed people called the Omen, and these ones are made to keep a particular Omen child under strictest confinement. Though faint, the shackles still retain vestiges of power, enough to trap the once bound Margit on Earth, if only for a short time. So that's a little bit different, which is kind of interesting. On the sigil itself, or like the shackle, there is a symbol of the Erd tree, the ancient Erd tree symbol, I guess, if you want to call it something specific. Four-toed birdfoot pickled in a golden medicinal solution, craftable, blah, blah, blah. A macabre item, evidence of the desperate ends that those who crave riches will go to. So that's a little bit different, but like not substantially so in terms of like the actual impact of the item. It doesn't say like the four fingers are like good luck or anything like that. Glass shard, worthless rubbish. Dirty shards of glass. Stone sword key. I'll need to pick this up eventually. Can be used to open doors by breaking the seal seen on gargoyle statues within the underground labyrinth. It will break upon use, allowing it to be used only once. So I'm assuming this got like revised because it says within the underground labyrinth, and that's probably a case of like the translators not knowing whether something's supposed to be singular or plural because it's not like denoted that way in Japanese. So Missionary's Cookbook, we have no idea what it actually allows us to craft. Parrying dagger, a knife with a curved handguard, designed to parry turning foes' attacks against them. For masters of combat who dance merrily through each enemy's blows, countering accordingly, this weapon is all they need. Shotel is a curved sword with a severely hooked blade, designed to bypass shielded defense. Made to hunt down humans, this weapon requires high dexterity to wield effectively. All 15 points. Serpent arrow. Oh, he sells unlimited amounts of these, so this would actually make a ranged playthrough a lot more viable. But if I remember correctly, when he moves on later, like he loses some of these items and you can't like keep buying them. So at least in this version of the game, a ranged playthrough would probably be more viable because I'm pretty sure he doesn't have this in retail, but I could also be misremembering. Yeah, Mikolash is another one. I think Mikolash is more like Nicholas than Michael. Looks like the stone tablet the giants have. No, I mean, I could kind of see where you're coming from with that, but I think it's different enough. But that'd be kind of interesting if they were meant to be related. Sacrificial twig. A talisman fashioned on a golden shrub. Prevents loss upon death, but breaks. So there's a lot of missing context with this, where like the retail version talks about it like being thought to be like part of the Erd tree, like a branch like that. So let's buy this. That's all I can afford for now.
Cheers for that.
Kitbox, welcome in. Nice to catch me live. You make great lore videos and I really enjoy watching them. Thank you very much for watching the videos and joining in. Those arrows are normally with the isolated merchant and dragon barrel. Yeah, so a lot of the merchant inventories are different in 1.0. Zionis, if he's still in chat, is a little bit more familiar with that than I am. Because I forget who has what, even in the retail version of the game. You only know that for sure because you're doing a bow run. Yeah, I need to do a bow run eventually. So I'll probably do that on the most current patch, just because it probably makes the most sense. Can I look at the fire butterflies? Sure. I checked that yesterday. That's kind of why I skipped over it. An eternally burning butterfly found near wildfires and elsewhere. Material used for crafting items. Serves as the kindling for a number of items. Alright, so we're going to attack patches.
What are you playing? What's wrong with you? Hard of hearing, are we? Fine. Have it your way. You'll get what's coming. Don't go thinking I'm a soft touch. Last chance to surrender, mate. Grovel, and I'll forgive you.
I don't... Oh, we did get it. Extreme Repentance. Okay. I think the last time I tried this on 1.0, like, I didn't actually get that emote. And if I remember correctly, you don't need to use that one specifically. Just groveling should work. But he just didn't accept it the one time I did it. Just trying to, like, break all my equipment and stuff. Please, sir. Okay, it does work in this one.
Consider it water under the bridge. A momentary lapse of judgment. All's well, as you know.
I like that little stab that he did. Like, I know it wasn't intentional, like, on, like, the game's part, but just, it feels so much like Patches to stab you after he forgives you.
So, do you need something from me? Cheers for that.
Alright, so I'm not going to open this chest yet, because if you continue to buy things from him, he will, like, give it to you, and he'll still, like, you know, trick you and all that, but just leave that alone for now. So where do I want to go? We already checked out D. We can leave that alone. We could go see Selin. Oh, let's go get up the map fragment and all that. You died before you could map and use it. Elden Ring's lost in translation one. Honestly, like, Elden Ring is translated better than the other games, so I don't think, like, there's really anything in the main story. I mean, you know, arguably, like, Ranni's ending, that'd be significantly different for people to, like, completely misinterpret the base tenets of the game, whereas, like, most of Bloodborne's notes were a little bit off enough where people weren't going to get the full picture without, like, all of that extra context. And honestly, like, a lot of the other content creators have covered, like, the basics of Elden Ring, where I don't necessarily feel the need to, although I probably should. But I don't know, like, making, like, the super basics of a video, it just doesn't appeal to me as much as, like, the super deep dives. Which I'm probably running a little bit out of content just because, like, the deep dives that I took were so, like, specific. So it looks like I can't read this grave on this version, or this monument, I guess. Which is kind of funny. This stab was too cheeky. Boris says, sorry to ask you to repeat yourself, but the words kindling and eternal do play into the eternally burning flame of ruin and the kindling maidens, which is pretty interesting. It's all good. Missionary's Cookbook has a funny line, which you're assuming is a mistranslation. A record of crafting techniques left by a man who, unable to become a finger maiden. If I remember correctly, that one is not really mistranslated in the retail version. How bad is Ranni's quest ending lost in translation? So I'll probably do a video on that eventually. Like, technically speaking, it's not exactly mistranslated. Just part of the issue is it doesn't come across supernaturally, partially because of the way that the dialogue is staggered, and that's not really, like, the translator's fault. Like, there's just, like, a really big gap in the way Ranni speaks, so it ends up inadvertently sounding more disconnected and sinister. So putting that aside, it's almost like an academic level of English where you really need to like look at it all together to see like how it works, and it seems like if you take it at face value a certain way, it sounds like the exact opposite of what she's trying to say, whereas like if you look at the Japanese, it's really straightforward, and that kind of thing shouldn't have happened. So what I would say about her ending specifically is that I don't necessarily think it's mistranslated from like a pure like academic English style guide, but I would say it's more like mislocalized, where like if the target audience isn't getting the intended message behind it, it's like not what they were trying to go for. So hopefully that makes sense, but I'll also need to like look at it a lot more closely because it's been a really long time since I looked into it myself. You just can't read in this version of the game? Yeah, almost. Yeah, and his platypus like brings up there's going to be like a lot of singular versus like plural differences. Yeah, I do like that they added in the telescopes for people to like look around the game. It's like we can see like zoom in and everything. I like how Heel is still just chilling down there. It's kind of funny that we can see him, but like not any of the other smaller things. I guess it makes sense. He's kind of big. But I do really wish they had like a photo mode in these games for like people to like look at the small things like the cobblestones, for instance, super close up. Yeah, you had the silly idea that Trina makes an excellent Japanese English pun with Torina. Almost sounds like tree. And that's something like it's kind of hard to tell if it's like actually supposed to be double entendre or not. Wait, I don't use stamina? Oh, I wasn't in combat. The Determination Ash of War. Oh, we should go see Bernal sometime. Alright, but now we'll go see Selin, and I should probably remember to like go look for like upgrade materials and whatnot. But I'll probably end up forgetting. I'll go see Selin first before dealing with the caravan. Just because like there's gonna be the what's it called, the grace right there. So if I screw up and die, I can just like run right there. Sweet, I didn't piss off the flower. Bloodborne 60 FPS. 60 FPS patch when? It's already out if you have like a jailbroken PS4. You could blame Lance for that. The real question is Bloodborne PC when? I saw like an article that said like Sony wants to port more games to PC, but don't hold your breath. Don't even believe Bloodborne PC is going to come out until after it happens. Who do I think is the most evil faction? Probably the Healing Church. I mean, let's be real here. They're pretty bad. I mean, Way of Light has their own issues, don't get me wrong. And there's like all the, like the PvP ones. But I guess like the Healing Church, they're kind of responsible for multiple genocides when you like consider Canehurst and Yharnam itself. Them delayed attacks. Oh, got. That was me. I should have rolled sooner, but I was just super slow on that. You somehow missed the telescopes most of the game. First one you saw was in the mountaintops. Blaidd OP. So that was the Mad Pumpkinhead. You get the pumpkin helm. I don't remember if this one's actually different. An oval helmet large enough to cover any head, very heavy and very hard. The inside of the helm is pitch black, keeping the crazed warrior within from panicking. Perhaps its rather roomy interior also helps alleviate feelings of pressure and claustrophobia. Doesn't the retail version talk about like the buzzing and stuff? And like the whole buzzing thing, it makes me wonder if it's meant to be related potentially to like the swarming blood flies that like the Moog adherents follow. I don't know. You don't think Bloodborne will get ported? Seems too altruistic for Sony. You want a Bloodborne remake, if anything? Update textures and graphics, fix the bad hit and hurt boxes, and add quality of life updates. Yeah, I think most people would definitely want an update. I don't think like a remake would be necessary as much as like a remaster. But those terms are kind of thrown around a bit more interchangeably these days, unfortunately. But yeah, it would be nice if they added a little bit more to some of the base game. Obviously, I would like some of the like notes and stuff to be touched up in terms of like translations, but I don't know, that might just be me being a bit too like egotistical about that. We'll see.
Tarnished, are we? I wonder you should turn up here. I am Selen, a sorcerer, quite plainly. Why are you here? A yen for glintstone sorceries. I dare say your proclivities are far from ideal. Oh well, perhaps nurture will defy nature, with a bit of luck. But one must choose one's masters wisely. I was exiled from the Academy of Rea Lucaria as a reviled, apostate witch. Do you still wish to learn from me?
Selen's a bit of a pumpkinhead herself. Selen does have different dialogue depending on your intelligence level. She said you had a yen for glintstone sorcery, so I think like my intellect is above 10 or whatever. But
well, you are a piece of work. Very well. You are now my protege in glintstone sorcery. But I refuse to coddle or cast kind words. Never. Anticipate grievances, young apprentice.
the pumpkin helm doesn't have anything about buzzing. There was like some item that talked about it. Oh yeah, these ones actually do. Some of them actually have like lore. I'll leave that alone for a second. Somebody said something I want to comment on. Oh yeah, the drop. You wondered if it used to be 100% here. I'm pretty sure I got the Pumpkinhead Helm my first try here on my last 1.0 run. So there are like the different drop rates, because after you kill a mini boss like that, you're usually supposed to pick up an item. So I'm assuming, since we didn't get anything else, that was like the coded one. And so we'll probably go where like the Uchi Katana is normally located, and just show like that isn't in this version of the game, if like what somebody had mentioned in chat yesterday was correct. That I think that's true, because I think I was going to try to dual wield him, but I realized like I couldn't. So then I went back and killed like Yura in one of my 1.0 playthroughs. A full-on DS1 remake where FromSoft fixes the second half of the game. Now we have a real dreamer in chat. Hell, how doing? Welcome back in. The original Demon's Souls is way better than the remake. Yeah, I think they're just very different feels. I haven't played the original, but like going back and looking at like a lot of the differences, I definitely see why people feel that way. Alright. So this is a glintstone sorcery discovered at the Rea Lucaria Academy. The glintstone serves as a conduit, launching magical projectiles at foes. This sorcery can be cast repeatedly and while in motion. This is a universal first step on the journey to true knowledge of sorcery. A glintstone sorcery discovered at the Rea Lucaria Academy fires highly directable magic shooting stars. This sorcery can be cast repeatedly and while in motion, and it increases in power when charged up. An ancient sorcery thought to be close to the primeval current itself. So this is called glintstone stars. I don't remember what this is called in retail. It might be glintstone stars, but I just don't remember like a lot of the sorceries. Glintstone Arc is a glintstone sorcery discovered at Rea Lucaria, blah blah blah. This sorcery is granted to sorcerers who set off from the academy to travel in order to protect themselves against large groups of would-be adversaries. Fools often roam in packs. Is that the same? I don't remember that. I like that final line though. Scholar Shield. This is different. Boosts equipped shield's defense. That's it. Not even a period. Imbues equipped weapon with magic damage. Fires a continuous volley of shards of glintstone. So this is kind of like where it really falls apart. And if you consider like the game went gold in, what was it, January? So between January and what should have been February, they came up with like a lot of the missing item descriptions. Obviously, you guys don't have like the full context to like see how many of like spells and other things that they changed, but there's quite a lot of text for a very short amount of time. With that being said, we don't know like how long ago the the localizers got the text to work on, because after you do receive a text and work on it and you give it back to developers, it'll still take like, it can take a really long time for them to actually implement those changes into the game itself. And even like when they do that, they could also have like other things that they changed in that meantime to get back to you to go back into the game. So it just becomes a bit of a game of cat and mouse, and you don't really know what gets updated when sometimes. Sorcery is very watery in this game. Nimrod, if you ever saw Lance McDonald's video about like the 60 FPS thing with Bloodborne, it makes sense that it didn't get patched yet, because there is like more to it than just like a simple like slider to like uncap the frame rate. And there is some like bugs in Lance McDonald's 60 FPS patch as well. But yeah, it would be really nice if it was able to go 60 FPS. Like, playing Dark Souls 3 on PS5 is nice because it's on 60 FPS and you don't need to do anything to like enable it. I should have hit the troll. That's right. I was hoping I was going to get like a good noble / commoner drop from that. Wishful thinking. Oops. Well, it's a good thing I got that side of grace when I decided to play that terribly. The Sodden Ring was when you realized Blue Point went way too far. Justin Von Saturnalia, welcome in. In your heart of hearts, you believe the reason nothing's been done for Bloodborne is because they have big plans for the future. Sounds like Justin has the supply of copium if anybody else needs a huff. Nah, I mean, it is wishful thinking. I totally understand. I thought I'd actually have iframes opening that. How naive. We're back to the Dark Souls 2 times. Do we get the Great Axe? You know, this really would have been like a lot easier if I just attacked all the enemies and cleared them out before trying to just hastily pick up that item. Okay. I didn't even pick up my runes. Not gonna worry about that. Yeah, and then the issue comes for like the different property owners in terms of like the IPs. Alright, so this is a great axe akin to a solid lump of iron, recognized as the weapon of choice of Badland chieftains. Too heavy to be wielded by those of merely ordinary strength, blows from this axe will flatten enemies, and the force of its charged attack is a sight to behold. That seems pretty straightforward. I think that might be the axe that's shown on like the generic Ash of War thing now that we have. Oh, this one's double-bladed. Is that one double-bladed? No. Okay, so it is a different axe. But when it says like it's the axe of Badland chieftains, try to get some good lighting. I don't remember if this has like the kind of designs that are similar to Godfrey's axe. No, they are different. Oh, that's interesting. Like, so the thing on the right side of the blade, like next to the edge, like the thing that kind of looks like a tree, almost reminds me of the design that shows up on like the what are they called? The maiden hoods and cloaks in like the windmill village. I don't think they're like actually related. It does look different, but that's just kind of what it reminded me of at a glance. All right, so we talked to Selin, so I think it's time to go see Blaidd. You like the original aesthetic of Demon Souls too much? All the Bloom still intentional choices made the remake removed. Others altering lore context as well. Don't dare mention the DS2 lack of iframes that triggers PTSD in some people. I honestly think DS2 would have been remarkably improved if they allowed iframes on like opening doors specifically. Like the run up to why am I blanking on his name in the old Iron Keep? Sully? No, goddamn it, that's Dark Souls 3. Not Sully. Shulva? Somebody's gonna like lose their minds in chat and be like, it's this guy, you idiot. But sometimes streaming, it just like, you don't have your full mental faculties, I'll be honest. It's kind of annoying, but anyway, celebrants. Okay, yeah, those women. Demon Souls gives Rat a nostalgic feeling like you're protecting something straight out of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. The remake tried to modernize it, and personally, it failed. I get what you guys are saying. Like, there is like a really big like aesthetic / environmental difference between the two versions of the game. And like, I'm certain like a lot of the jankiness of the original also added to its charm. Like, I think Dark Souls 1 is definitely janky, but it's also kind of charming because of how janky it is. And there are some like differences between like the remastered version of Dark Souls 1 and even like Prepare to Die edition, like the humanity sprites and like the Cavern of the Abyss or whatever it's called. When you go past Ulasil. You always forget the iframe thing, that and adaptability. And you are lucky if you could forget about adaptability. You were probably a caster. Streamer tax, maybe. Alright, let's go get the one inside of Grace over here. Oh yeah, so I'd mentioned that they're like graveyards over, like throughout the lands between, which is kind of interesting. Because we have like the minor Erd trees. Oh wait, no, maybe I didn't talk about this on this stream. I probably mentioned it to like Sinister Stromboli. Yeah, I think that's what happened. So we've got like minor Erd trees, and we've got like catacombs everywhere for like Erd tree burial, which is all well and good. But on the other hand, there's also plenty of like these standing open graveyards in Elden Ring, which would indicate that the denizens of the lands between didn't always bury their dead, at least in the roots of the Erd tree. So that might be worth considering. I guess I could like look at the actual like designs on the coffins, but it's not terribly important, I don't think. Oh yeah, I should probably go into Fort Height. Oh yeah, I always forget about Kenneth, because he's the chump, especially in this version of the game, and like you can't do anything with him. Doing Shrine of Amana on SL1 was one of the most soul-draining things you've done. Yeah, so the first time I did Shrine of Amana, I guess I only really did it once. I missed like the second bonfire, which was like super like obvious in retrospect. And so like I had to use like a lot of like my mana returning items, and I was like, man, I can't believe they made the area this hard. Demi-human, so yeah, we need to go to the right. What do you think's going on with the troll-drawn coffins? Oh, so those are caravans. So I think they're just escorting coffins to various minor Erd trees, so that way the residents, the corpses, whatever you want to call it, like the former people inside those coffins could have their like souls returned to the Erd Tree. So I'm pretty sure those are called like, I forget what they're called. They just say like they're coffin transporters or something in like the artwork book. So that's kind of how I know that they like transport coffins. Also, when you go up to Altus Plateau for the first time, it says like, when you go through the ruin-strewn precipice, abandoned coffins, I think that's what it's called. So like that's the other like in-game way you can know what's going on with those things. That the trolls are trying to transport coffins to Erd trees, and so like between Limgrave and Liurnia, there's like the broken bridge where like the trolls can't cross and they don't know what to do to like transport their cadavers. Oh yeah, somebody asked me what I thought my like the strongest build in Elden Ring is. I mean, I'll say like in a meme kind of way, like the build that works for you, but in a more serious answer, it's probably something like related to sorcery with like Terra Magica being able to just one-shot bosses with Comet Azure. It's kind of hard to top that. Shelva's the name of the location around that slumbering dragon boss fight. Where's it? Yeah, I was thinking of Elan. Oh god, Sir Elan. I was screwed up on the Sir part. I'm like, I know it starts with an S. No, I was definitely thinking of Elan. Like the run back to Elan would have been so much better if you could just open the damn, like run past everything and open the damn door to his arena and not get got by like 30 dudes sprinting after you. No, I did play Dark Souls 2. I have a review of it on my channel. Like I went through because I needed like the lore footage, and it's definitely my least favorite of the series of the Soulsborns, but I did go through, I played it, I did like all the DLCs and stuff. So oof. Alright, going back to this game's lore. The demi-humans wax wroth, now their mother's been taken. Where are you, Lord Kenneth? The night bedeviled by blood. So I kind of hated this translation because that kind of comes across as a positive phrase in English where like it almost sounds like he's saying Lord Kenneth is the night bedeviled by blood rather than like there is a blood like poxed knight within Fort Height and all that. So for like the longest time I thought on my very first playthrough, like before you can piece things together properly, that like Moog was related to Lord Kenneth, or like I thought Lord Kenneth was like Moog in disguise and like he'd be a really like badass boss eventually. But boy was I wrong about that. You think the coffins on the ground are a remnant of a time before the Erd Tree and Grace when people were revived by magic trees. Corporate Nothing, welcome in. You say Dark Souls 2 is the modern Warfare 2 of Soulsborne games and that it's an amazing game if you just ignore everything bad about it. It's like the if my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a bicycle meme. Pausing during the boss fight, I think like a lot of people are also forgetting like you're able to do that in Sekiro, and that's still probably unironically the most difficult FromSoft game despite being able to pause. So I think there like can still be value. Oh yeah, there's going to be like a bunch of the rune bears and stuff here. I should have gone and seen Patches because he would have teleported me here. Or no, he teleports, I don't remember. So that's Blaidd howling in the distance. Now we could go see Kale to learn about him. It'd be funny if Kenneth is Boxdad. So we get the Dragon Crest Shield Talisman. I think that's my first talisman so far, yeah. This is a good one to get. Raw Iron Talisman depicting an ancient dragon boosts physical damage negation. In the primitive age before the Erd Tree, the ancient dragons ruled above all else and were said to have protected their king as a veritable wall of stone. And so it is that the shape of the dragon has become symbolic of all manner of protections. So this one's a lot more straightforward, I think, in the term like in terms of like the language used. So primitive age before the Erd Tree. So like this comes back down to the question of like how canonical are the 1.00 descriptions, and it kind of just comes to individual interpretation. So this would make it sound like that Platypus or potentially Sarash were the king during this time. Those are like the two like main candidates for that. But I think, you know, Platypus makes the most sense with everything. But the dragons ruling before the Erd Tree would show that like there was stuff going on before America and Godfrey did their thing. I said that really poorly, but whatever. I'm having a moment. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I goofed. I didn't mean it. I apologize. Oh yeah, I don't need to stick around here to get Blaidd. Oh lordy, coming. Budge. Get off the rocks. Bash towards. I will be good now. I'll go see Kenneth, and then Kale, and then Patches, and then Blaidd. I think that makes the most sense for now. I'll try to pull out my map here, because I forget where the actual, like... No, it's at the end of this path, isn't it? Where the next map fragment is. Alright. Alright, Corporate. You were here yesterday, but this is your first time typing in chat. Just want to say you've really enjoyed the recent rise in 1.0 Unpatched content from me and some other creators. You've been fascinated thinking about just how janky and busted the original Japanese 1.0 versions of Demon Souls and Dark Souls are. Well, thank you for typing and all that, and for watching. I appreciate that. And if I was looking for the thing, I totally missed it when I was reading. It's all good. I'll go to the Third Church of America, get a Sacred Tear fragment, and all that fun stuff, and then I'll look for the map thing. What does it mean for a god to run away, and where would they run to? So the whole runaway thing isn't like a mistranslation. The issue is like the term in Japanese is very vague and can be taken multiple ways to mean like forced to flee, to be driven off, to just leave on their own accord. So it's kind of hard to say what exactly they meant by that. So I do have a lot of questions about that myself, and I don't really think I have like the best of answers to give, unfortunately. So, oh yeah, this is technically a consumable, isn't it? So this is a relic of the physic chemist's priest of the Erd Tree. Harnesses the powers of crystal tears which only form after the passage of many moons. Various special effects are bestowed upon the drinker dependent on the specific mixture of crystal tears. Rest at a site of grace to replenish. It is said that in the lands between, pools of crystal tears amass at the bases of minor Erd trees. So one like minor difference, which like I think people would probably pick up anyway, is like the Japanese for these call them like spirit flasks. So you just kind of like replenish your spirit with like the tears and stuff, but it's really not like that important. It's just kind of something that stood out to me when you like try to look at like commonalities in terms of like the terms that actually get reused throughout the games. All right, so we got that, and then the tears, yeah. The special crystallization formed over the course of many moons within a tear of life, a blessing of the Erd Tree, can be mixed in a flask of wondrous physic. The resulting concoction restores half of one's max HP. And what was the last thing we got? There. Well, this is a blessing of the Erd Tree, worshipped in the churches of all lands. This is but a faint vestige. Increases the potency of a sacred flask's restorative effects. Can be used after resting at a site of grace. During the age of the Erd Tree, these tears are used to spread the faith, for theirs were once a certain blessing. So that one's pretty much the same. I don't think there were like too many differences, but I also don't remember super well. So before I forget, I'm going to upgrade my things because I tend to do that. Pretty sure I didn't have any. Okay. Now let me catch up with you guys. Part of the tribe, welcome in. No, I started this evening, like an hour and a half ago. Right, so yeah, I could always look. So I don't know how many people have noticed this, but you can always see where the map markers will be on the gray portion of the maps if you look for like these little pillars. So that's what we'll do. I knew it was by the road somewhere. Where am I going? Okay. So I'll just follow the road. Wait, no, this is stupid. Let's just go see Kale, and then Patches will teleport us like pretty much right next to it. 24-hour stream when? Never. Maybe not never, but like it's a lot of burden on myself, and also like having to deal with the dogs, and I would probably end up taking like a lot of breaks.
It's you again.
And also
Pleasure.
my voice.
Care to purchase anything? The howl of a wolf in the mistwood. I suppose he must still be skulking about. I know. Why not meet him for yourself? Next time you hear the wolf's howl, make this signal right under the source. Oh, don't fret. There is nothing to fear. I just have an inkling the two of you might hit it off. Goodbye for now.
Oh yeah, didn't I need to buy something else? Not with my runes. Alright. Let's go see Patches. So, you got the notification for this video. So, like, sometimes, like, YouTube stuff gets kind of delayed. And, if I, like, make a stream, it should send notifications to people. I can't, like, control when they get sent sometimes. So, if I have a stream queued to go live at, like, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, it will like launch out like different waves of like notifications to people, and typically like YouTube gives more notifications like an hour beforehand. Sometimes they do it like a day beforehand if you have your like stuff scheduled that far in advance. I just don't really understand how it works, but yeah. In other words, guys, ring the beckoning bell for your notifications.
Hello again. Welcome to Patch's Emporium. By the way, friend, you've really been there for me through thick and thin. And so, I've made up my mind. I bequeath that chest to you. An extra special thanks for an extra special customer. What's wrong? I've made up my mind. The treasure chest is yours, in word and deed. Sure, it may be worth its weight in gold, but a Patch's promise, well, that's priceless.
I like how they used camel text for Patch's promise. So like I said, if you hold off looting his special treasure, he will give it to you for free. So I'm mashing circle to dodge, but I can't escape it.
My sincerest gratitude. I thought I'd never wrench that thing open. You're the finest customer a man ever had.
So he doesn't chastise us in this version. Well, not like this version, but like if you do it this sequence of events. So we get teleported. Hey, look, almost right next to the map thing. I need to go southwest. Okay. Let's not piss off our bear. Oh no, I need to go east. I'm an idiot. I was not actually paying attention to my map. Now I need to go north. Okay. Just use your eyes. Map Limgrave East. After a little bit, I'll go ahead and like read all the maps. Yeah, I'll just go down this now because I can just fast travel to it later. Yeah, once I get some more of the map fragments, I'll go ahead and read those. There's a little bit of lore next to them, and they're also a little bit messed up in 1.0. Patches is always smarter than the player. You like a stocks laugh better than Patches? So yeah, as you come down the well in this version of the game, instead of like getting the underground river music, you get the not like the nomadic merchant frenzied flame prescription music beneath Lanedell. So yeah, the first time I came down here, I was like, oh my god. It kind of reminded me of going to like Blackreach in Skyrim, and I was just like, hell yes. Like, it's just something I didn't expect. So definitely some really good memories in terms of like gaming. Getting to experience Shifra River for the first time. Oh yeah, don't send that up yet, because we're going to go back up. Alright, so I got that unlocked for now. I kind of want to talk about this stuff, but no. We have a mission. Go see our Wolven friend. It all leads back to Skyrim. It makes you wish the sky and the lands between would crack open. You never know with DLC, man. Yeah, it's a little bit weird because like in 1.0, like you can like zoom out a lot more initially and like see a lot more of the map. But at least on the day one patch, it wasn't like that. So when I'd like first noticed how much bigger the map became, I was like, oh crap. And then, you know, that just like kept happening. And like, for as many issues as Elden Ring has, it is really kind of remarkable like how well it's actually like built up and scales. It's just a little bit unfortunate that it kind of feels a bit empty, or like there's not as much incentive to do certain things on like repeated plays, I guess. Alright, so let's go see our guy. Oh yeah, I should probably be using those. That'll make things easier. The Dark Souls of Skyrim. Hey, the most important lore item in the game next to soap. Gold-tinged excrement. Blaidd should be... Oh no, I'm out in the wrong one, aren't I? Why isn't he whistling? Oh no, I need to whistle, don't I? I'm an idiot. Duh. Okay. I forgot. Surprisingly, somehow. Let's do it over here, away from that thing. Don't need the Dogeza anymore. It's a finger snap? I'm having a moment here. Is this the wrong spot? Yeah. It is finger snap. Okay. So maybe I'm just in the wrong spot. Maybe I do need to be like closer to the thing. Oh yeah, there's a chest in here I didn't loot either. Large smithing stone shard. Sweet. I hear like a sound effect going on. I don't know if it's Blaidd or myself. Like after I snap. Is he just like laughing? Are you guys hearing that too, or is it just me? He might have jumped already? Okay. He's on the other side of the wall. Should I use my eyes again? Is that what I need to do? Have you guys actually seen him on my screen at all yet? Am I actually just being blind? He's on the side of the wall with the tower, or actually behind the tower. I thought he was like here, like the first time I called him. Maybe he's further out? Does he chuckle like that in latest patch? 2 playthroughs and you've never actually managed to find him here? I've like come, like, I've met him here before. Like, I met him on my first playthrough and he like talks to the player and all that. I don't remember if I did this on 1.0 because like, you don't really need to interact with him to do his quest half the time. I wonder if this is like hot and cold. He should be here? Okay. Do I need to kill the bear? Man. I think you're trolling me. But you might be right. Yeah, because like when I first talked to him, it was like over there. I'm gonna get got, man. There we go. I feel so slow. Hey, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Forgot that's possible. Oh yeah, and I gotta look at the poop description. Ooh, beast blood. Sweet. Alright, this should be good enough, I think. Let's try it again. He laughing. So I think the first time I ever met him, he was like over here. It sounded like, okay. It sounded like it was actually more. This is annoying. Maybe I'll just go fight Darrowell. Alright. I'll just snap a couple more times and then chalk it up to a 1.0 snafu. Beastblood Malice Miser? Alright. Big old F. Or maybe if I reload the area, that might help. Alright, I will exit and re-enter, and then see if that helps. He was right there, or no? He's supposed to be up top there. Yeah, I don't even like see him like on top of the thing. So our tower's there. Now I hear him chuckling, but it.
I say, no harm can befall a shadow.
Oh, is he aggro? What the fuck? That's amazing. Uh-oh, I woke up my dog. Does this screw up my Ranni questline? Do I need, like, absolution? Alright, wait. Let's do that. Yeah. So much for that. So yeah, guys, welcome to the 1.0 version of the game, where everything is the same. I don't know if he's gonna be angry. Yeah, he seemed angry. He angry. Are his eyes gold? No, it's just kind of like his model. Lord, he coming. I wonder if he'd attack me out by the Darrowell Everjail. I'm assuming he would. Alright, so now we have Beast Blood and Poop to read. So that's good enough for now. They lied to me. Nightbot's a little... I should probably, like, tweak that. Oh yeah, and we also picked up Starlight Shards a while back, and I forgot to look at them. Let me level up before I forget. Start leveling up strength if I can. Okay, I'm a little bit shy. Oh, 100 short. Okay. The bear may have caused the aggro? Maybe, like, because he should have been down there, but yeah, it's so weird. Maybe I should have attacked the bear and I should have just reloaded to begin with. But typically when an enemy hits another enemy, like, they don't get player aggression. It's weird. If you kill a rune bear, he may become hostile? I don't think so. Like, that doesn't really happen in the retail. Like, a lot of things were just bugged in this version. Alpharus Omega, welcome in. So which demigod do you think had the right idea and strength to be Elden Lord? I mean, Millennia definitely had the right strength. She seemed more like altruistic, but probably Mikola? I don't know. I don't know if anybody had like the real right idea. It's an interesting question though. So let's check out those items. We got our Starlight Shard. This is light from pale blue stars that rain from above. Its afterglow remained in the earth as shards. Some merchants may part ways with their wares in exchange for this. And beast blood. Fresh beast blood, material used for crafting items. This blood, which glistens with gold, never rots or decays. Used in a wide variety of medicines. So this is also like part of why I think like the regalia of Eocade, when it talks about the rust of it not degrading or whatever, it's supposed to be like red gold specifically because this gold never rots or decays. But I think I forgot to mention that in my gold and silver video, but it's all good. So we got some gold poop. Someone's excrement. It has a golden tinge. Material used for crafting items, often hidden in woods and thickets. Gold-tinged excrement is a highly stable substance. It doesn't dry out, nor does it lose its customary warmth or scent. For better or for worse, it remains as it is. So I think that final line is really indicative of like what it means to be tinged with gold in the lands between. Rykard had the right idea. Focus on family. You might be right about that, Astanex. Stella B, welcome back to the stream. Nice to see you again. Oh, it's one of the things you just read. It was a common thing people found that he'll become hostile over, killing any rune bear in the area. Mortis, you got me. You ruined the run. Right, so maybe I should leave the Darrowolf thing alone then. Yeah, let's just kill him anyway. Or I guess we would be able to tell if there's no summon sign over there. It's so interesting that he like said his line where like, didn't I tell you no harm can befall a shadow though? Because that's what the line he gives if you kill him and then he gets revived. So maybe the rune bear could have inadvertently done enough damage to like kill him somehow because it's like all bugged. All right, so we did that. Maybe we should just go see Arena and go to the Weeping Peninsula. Let me think if there's anything like super worthwhile getting for now. Just like the Grace over there and up there. Oh yeah, we could go look for the Uchigatana. Okay, let's go to the Uchigatana place. Bernal, that's what I was missing. We'll go see Bernal and then not get the Uchigatana and then go see Arena before going to Millicent. Oh yeah, Roderica as well for part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
A pleasure to see you. Did you give the little chrysalids the message? That I love them, and that despite my craven heart, I'm sure I'll be joining their club soon enough.
Absolution will work, thank you. And also welcome to the stream, all good names taken. Mikola Stasis Poo.
A pleasure to see you. Did you give the little chrysalids the message? That I love them.
Okay, so that's enough from her for now. I'll need to remember to go like underneath that like one troll corpse in Stormvale. You loved it when there are no NPC indicators on the map? I kind of did too, because it like encouraged people to actually like interact with the map and like placing down their markers. Like, as far as like quality of life goes, it was definitely an improvement for some. But also kind of like a departure from like the days of old and like playing RPGs. So, oh yeah, he'll be over there. Oh, wait. If we come here at night, we might not have Bernal the first time around. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Did I go too far? Yeah, I think I did. Maybe I didn't. Yeah, no, I did go too far. Okay. Follow the path back. Yeah. It is also interesting that the wolves get like transported in through like tempests of wind at times. Okay, we should be fine. If we don't get got by the wolves, that is. The War Master Shack. So this time we could actually see Bernal without his helmet on. Very knightly, I guess. I don't know.
Not seen you before. Name's Bernal. Tarnished, just like you. Let me ask you something. Are you here in the lands between to take up the fight? Does your faith in the guidance of grace hold firm, despite the collapse of the Golden Order?
So I really like this because depending on what you tell him here, or if you don't even interact with him here, his dialogue will change if you meet him in the Volcano Manor.
Honest to a fault, I see. Such thoughts won't behoove you as a Tarnished. But there's nothing wrong with that. Any interest in bearing the torch of my battle arts? All I know is the sword. Picked up a fair few tricks in my time, too. Now's the time to pass them on. To a good Tarnished like you. There's a myriad of battle arts in these lands that I've yet to discover. Mementos of all the warriors who raised their arms in battle, lost and died. A fine tale, all told of true chivalric romance. That's how I fell in love with the sword and the arts of combat. It grants meaning even to falling in battle, to death itself.
So the Spirit Ashes, or like Ashes of War, are the remaining memories of like the fallen, of like their cremains. So that little bit of lore you only actually get from a loading screen tip, ironically enough. And I don't know if that's in this version of the game, to be honest, but there's not going to be a lot of lore on these for the most part. We do have the Stormblade, but a skill used by the Stormveil Knights long ago, your armament is wrapped in a Stormblade that can be fired in rapid succession. So I'm not going to worry too much about this because I don't have like a lot of runes to spare. So we can come see Bernal eventually later.
Not floating your boat, eh? Well, there's no rush. Knowledge of the arts can wait another day.
And so him saying like the weapon arts like gave meaning to death could potentially be tied to like the Deathrite bird talismans where like the heart sings on like the edge of death or something like that. So that's probably something that might get expanded upon more a little bit in like the DLC. Like I would definitely suspect something like along those lines related to it, even if it doesn't actually like say more, if that makes sense.
There you are. Decided to bear the torch of my battle arts. Not floating your boat,
Okay.
eh? Well,
We can leave that for now. I think if I like teleport here, the bell-bearing hunter might appear, which would be pretty disastrous for me at this level. So I'll just leave that alone for now, I guess. Start leveling up strength so I could use the twin blade eventually. Alright, so we'll leave the Darrowell thing for when we get Absolution. I should go to... Oh, I was going to go see Kenneth. Alright, we'll do that. But I think it might actually be worth going to the troll cave, well, the tunnels rather, to get upgrade materials as well as the runes, so that way I could eventually start using the twin blade. Ooh, those FPS drops there. Yeah, if I remember correctly, even in this version of the game, like Hoarfrost Stomp doesn't like auto-delete the bell-bearing dudes. For whatever reason, Crucible Knights also don't bleed at all, which is kind of crazy to me. And they're pretty strong against Hoarfrost Stomp shenanigans. Unless I'm own ball. I'm trying to remember. I think in retail, this troll has like the Erd Tree stump, the club or whatever it's called. And I think it was actually different in this, but I might be misremembering. So we get into our first tunnel of the game. Oh, wouldn't you know, there's a little drop over here. To be honest, like I really did like the tunnels and stuff a lot initially, but it just got a little bit stale with how like every layout was the same, and I should have gone to the left for the first one. So I'm gonna probably have to like ride the elevator back up. It's all good. Nightbot keeping me in check. Yeah, I didn't think there's anything up here. Okay. Because, like, after you get used to them, like, pretty much all of the mines have, like, this exact little design in terms of, like, going down it. But, of course, like, not all of them are the same, but it just did get a little bit formulaic to me when you go through, like, every single one. So if I remember correctly, these things are strong to, like, slashing attacks, but they're not as strong to thrusting, or that might just be like a Demon Souls thing. But they're still actually weak to bleed. I wasn't trying to step like that. Is it two-handing? This one will actually still go through them sometimes? I don't know. So yeah, throughout the mines we do have like smithing stone shards in the walls. Oh yeah, backstabbing. That's what I need to do. Alright, so Fluffy said, you're embarrassed that you had to be shown that midway entrance by a summoned phantom on your second playthrough? I mean, you don't have to feel embarrassed about it. Like, I only started discovering that stuff, like, after doing, like, a bunch of them. And, like, maybe not, like, that one specifically, but, like, after a while, you start getting, like, the hang of the layouts of things. And, like, the same thing is kind of true for, like, the catacombs, where, like, oops. After a while, you know, like, there's, like, the certain set of, like, a staircase where there's, like, always a hidden wall or, like, an opening behind it. So if there is no opening, then you, like, know it's a hidden wall, like, once you get kind of, like, get too used to, like, the layouts of different areas. I probably shouldn't even be fighting these things with as few runes as I'm getting. Like, obviously, like, the smartest strat would be to just go to Grail and, like, bleed it to death. But you don't actually get as nearly as many runes in this version of the game. Oosh. You only get, like, 15,000 with, like, a golden foul foot usage. Whereas you would get, like, 80-some thousand, I think, in the current version. Oh, that didn't go. I suck. Okay. You use Piercing Fang against them. It's unsheathed, not Piercing Fang. Okay. You don't know if it's just you, but the Beast Champion armor looks like Godfrey's armor, and his name is of a bestial origin like Hoarlu was. So you wonder if there is some connection between them. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. Bernala seems like he would be an old Tarnished, like one of like the first ones of the Knights of the Round, not table, the Round Table hold rather. May as well heal. Oh yeah, and I've got the flask as well. I should have used that. Ponyboy, welcome in. You can't play this. Can't wait to play this when the DLC comes out. You beat it way before all the patches came out, so the game is going to be feel fresh as hell by the time it comes out. Yeah, there's been a lot of differences, especially as far as like the balance is concerned. And also, welcome to the stream. I keep rolling too soon. Or not at all. I suck. And that wasn't a backstab. So yeah, I'm coming through here just to get like a bunch of the smithing stones. Like my first time playing through, I skipped this area entirely. So I was really, really hurting for upgrades. Because I had like gone to Liurnia because I talked to Blaidd and he told me about EG. So I was trying to go see EG at that time. And so like I zoomed way out of the way. And I just kind of like missed the natural progression of like the smithing stone upgrade options. So I went from having a literally +2 weapon to like a +13 weapon by the time I got that extra shard that I needed. My range? Okay, there we go. Miners are weak to Blend. Did I pick up the Morningstar yet? No. That didn't do as much damage as I was hoping. You really should just like fish for the backstabs. Glintstone scrap. Rivers of Blood days? Yeah. Rivers of Blood got nerfed. So it's still really, really good in this version. I guess I already had some of these. A small shard of glintstone containing magical power. Shattering the gem sends out magic bolts that seek out enemies. Oh yeah, and I picked this up before. Or it doesn't really say anything. Okay. Don't think there's anything new. I did read all those, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, the cave moss. The faintly luminescent moss that grows in dark caves, material used in crafting items. So this might like reveal that darkness ends up producing light or like cosmic style effects. But I don't really know about that specifically, to be honest. There's something up there. Oh yeah, somber. Smithing stone. So a blackstone shard that is transformed, storing light, strengthens special armaments to +1. So that's quite a departure from like the retail version. And shows that like they're still working on those kinds of descriptions. How's the state of intelligence / faithcasters? Was thinking of doing that in your next run. I mean, those things are always going to be powerful as long as you're able to keep your range. Certain spells have gotten buffed, others have gotten nerfed, but casting is always really good. I don't think there's anything over there. Alright. Maybe there is. No, okay. I forgot I had like the militiamen. I just tend not to summon, to be honest. A little bit stubborn. You might do Faith your next run. Any tips? With Faith, just using like a lot of the buff options can really help. Even like some of the smaller ones, like the Bestial Vigor. So this Stone Digger troll, when I actually look at its skin, it seems to be more actually made of stone compared to the other trolls. And if I remember correctly, if he does hit me with that club, I will take fire damage. So this one isn't the Erd Tree Stump user, this is like the Troll Hammer user. Oops. Oh, I was not expecting to get hit from the backblast from that. So one of the other interesting things about like the mines in general to me is like most of them will end up having these kind of like meteorite ore deposits at the very end of them or throughout them. I'm like stuck in him. Oh no. No, 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 that sucks. Okay. Aurora Medallion. Maybe that's the same. I don't remember. I didn't think so, but I have a new medallion. I should go back to Summon Water to get the turtle one. Because I don't really use a lot of roars and war cries. A bronze medallion depicting a roaring giant. Enhances skills that employs roars and war cries. In ancient times, the giants were mortal enemies of the Erd Tree. Their bellowing roars desolated nature, triggered avalanches, and whipped up storms of flame. So, this brings up some questions, not this one specifically, but there are some questions of whether or not the Erd Tree predates the giants. Hold on, like predates like the war against the giants, or if it was like actually sprouted around that time, and then like the giants were kind of rebelling against its rise, I guess. So we did that. Oh yeah, I was gonna go check out the one catacomb over here. That's why I saw Bernal to begin with. You abandoned casting halfway in your original playthrough after getting the Black Knife since you were tired of having no reason to cast anything but Pebble/Arc. Yeah. Oh yeah, Pebble was like, super strong way back then. Has a being scaling with Faith, so you can easily put much into Faith and use all the cool incantations? Oh, with what? No, I'm not going to do the manner skip, unless you're like replying to someone else. Alpha needs some advice since they haven't played since the end of 22. Used to use the Blasphemous Blade because it was quick and had that neat special to deal with long-range enemies if it got nerfed, though. I don't remember like if that one got nerfed specifically. Almost enough to level up? Okay. Use that Pauper's Rune we picked up. Astyanax always figured the war was because the giants tended to fear the fire god? Or tended to the fire god? Hold on, let me... seeing fire as the flame was prophesied to burn the tree down. So I think, like, there's a possibility that the original tree could have been like a Helphin tree. And we'll see some of those as we like play through the game. I could go back to the Mistwood to show that off a bit. Where am I going? Oh yeah. I'm pretty sure this is the catacomb that had the Uchigatana. Is it over here though? I thought it was like further to the west. Yeah, no. The Taker's Flame used to not heal, but now it heals, so it's even better. Where am I trying to go? It was like around there somewhere. Fluffy said, you heard there was cut content that the black flame could be used to burn the Erdtree. Any leftovers of that in 1.0? Unfortunately, that was already taken... Oh yeah, I forget you get invaded by Gideon's boy here. That was already taken out in 1.0, but there is the remnants of that in the text dump of the game files. So the reason why I say this is Gideon's boy is I think, if I remember correctly, probably should not be pulling out the telescope that close to him. He's got the surcoat that you can find in Volcano Manor next to Rykard. So this dude probably gets eaten by Rykard, and he was probably the guy who works for Gideon. Henricus of Volcano Manor. Oh yeah, I don't have the shield on anymore. Oh, bleed. Okay. I'm surprised that was not a backstab. Easy squeezy, lemon peasy. Oh yeah, there's actually some more lore here that isn't available anymore. We get the Hammer Talisman, which is nice. I'll read that in a second. But this dude no longer exists because they added the Colosseums into the game. So this is actually one of the more unique ghosts because he isn't like a commoner. He actually has like, I can't remember what set this is. Not like the... It's whatever. But this is a different kind of a ghost, essentially, is what I want to point out. All I wanted was to fight as a warrior to the last. So why, oh guidance of grace, will this door not open? So I think it's really unfortunate that this guy got because it does show that like the guidance of grace isn't infallible, that like he followed his guidance, but like it amounted to nothing in the end, sort of, for him. I'm not going to worry about those two items because they don't really... The multiplayer stuff doesn't really discuss a lot. This is a talisman depicting a hammer and a knight. Enhances stamina, reducing attacks against a blocking opponent. Hammers are highly effective against shield-bearing foes, so much so that they are known as knight killers. The same cave has a death root? Oh yeah. Is that the death root cave? Okay. Southeast of here. Okay, thank you. Thought so. Again, then we get fire slugs. I don't know what's going on with the slugs, to be honest. Maybe they get fiery because they eat the butterflies, but... Slugs at least bleed... Well, I guess these ones bleed lava. But they typically like bleed white because they lack hemoglobin, like in real life. And so you could probably consider these a quote-unquote like bloodless enemy. And they should drop white flesh. Okay, that one just had a smoldering butterfly. I think I need to drop down. If there is a drop down from over there. Yeah, this is starting to feel right. Then it should be over there. Okay. This is one of the areas of the map where I kind of forget where things are. just because there's not like a ton of reason to come back here on like subsequent playthroughs. Unthinkable, our hallowed resting place is violated. To refuse the Erdtree's call to return, to live within death, sickening. So this is like the ghost that has appeared in pretty much almost all of my videos at this point. Just because it shows like those who live in death because they don't want to die. They just want to keep staying alive. So they're refusing the call to go back to the Erdtree. So that kind of shows like how the Golden Order and the Erdtree are like kind of fundamentally broken in this current timeline here. Yeah, turtles also drop the white flesh. Oh yeah, I don't have the violet murky eye to tell me if there's deathroot in here. Hey, we get root resin. Okay. Some important lore. I'll need to double check if that obtained text is in the other things. Let me look over here real quick. Okay, not that important. Resin secreted from the roots of the Great Tree, material used in crafting items. The roots of the Great Tree drive far and wide through the earth of the lands between. They were once entwined with the roots of the Erdtree, or so they say. So, this is a little bit problematic in terms of like the Japanese because it's vague, and like I've said before, like the first time I read this in Japanese, it does make it sound like the Great Tree and the Erdtree are different things. But the way that I think this is actually meant to be taken, and it's not very intuitive, is that the Erdtree that it's talking about here is not, I can't see it in this location, isn't the big one in like Leyndell. I think the Erdtree that it's referencing in that description specifically is just talking about like all of the Erdtrees, like the minor ones, as well as like the big one. So I think the minor Erdtree's roots, like the ones in like the catacombs and stuff, did eventually connect to the gigantic one in Leyndell. It was just kind of like a network of roots that would collect the souls of the dead and then give them to like the parent vampire Erdtree. I'm not actually like literally saying the Erdtree's a vampire, but it's just kind of funny to think of it that way. And so the Great Tree should be understood as the Leyndell tree because it's greater than all the others and it's a big tree. But there's also the potential that a Great Tree could have predated the actual Leyndell Erdtree and the Erdtree could have been grafted onto it. But I don't really think there's meant to be a distinction between the Great Tree and the Leyndell tree at this point in time in the game. And as I've mentioned before, my rationale for believing things to work that way comes partially from Dee's dialogue and the Finger Reader Crone and Leyndell's dialogue, and the Tree and Beast Surcoat, which is called the Great Tree and Beast Surcoat in Japanese, and it does specify that the Great Tree is the Leyndell tree. Like, the tree depicted on this is the one in Leyndell, rather. So, sorry for sounding like a bit of a broken record there, but it's something that people continue giving like a lot of pushback against. So, just rehashing things over and over, essentially. The world is a vampire. So yeah, these are some more like those who live in death, and they kind of look like they get reanimated by like ghost flame when you kill them. So I'll try to show that off here. But whether it's ghost flame or just a spirit, well, maybe not like kill him in a box or a coffin next time. Honestly, that jumping attack, it kind of reminds me of like the plunging attacks from the skeletons in DS1. They're very different, but just like the range of it kind of reminds me of that. So yeah, this isn't exactly a flame. They're just kind of like the wisps that appear like with hex magic, essentially, and just shows that they're like spirits, I think. And so those who live in death technically don't have bodies, if that makes sense, and they just seem to kind of reanimate whatever they can use as a body. I think might be one way to like interpret them. But that's also like individual interpretation, or like my opinion rather. Katie says this kind of goes against the other descriptions, which says that the minor Erd trees still produce tears. This looks more like the spirits in Rancor Call. Yeah. So, could you elaborate on the tear thing? Where is it at? It is set in the lands between pools of crystal tears that mass at the bases of minor Erd trees. Astanex says, are you familiar with mycelium? Yes. It's a type of real-life root system of fungi that can stretch miles along, sharing information amongst the network. Think the trees in Elden Ring work the same? Yes. And that's not just limited to fungi, although mycelium networks are like most known for them. I'm also not a botanist, and I don't know if there's like a more specific term for it, but I do know like there's this gigantic network of tree roots that like all stemmed from one tree in some part of the world that's like over 2,000 years old, and like nobody, like the actual like identity or location of like the original like progenitor tree is kept a secret, so like nobody like tries to burn it or whatever. And I think that may have provided an inspiration for Elden Ring and the Erd tree specifically. In other words, don't let Zeostorm catch on to the fact that I don't think the Erd tree is actually a mushroom. So we got some grave glove work. And so what I had mentioned before, like with the layouts of certain areas just kind of getting repeated, is that in Catacombs specifically, when you have like this little like sloping staircase and then like this little like box part, there's always going to be like a little alcove here that you can go into. And so if it's closed off, you kind of know that it's a hidden wall, essentially. Is that an upgrade item, technically? Yeah, that should be an upgrade item. A lily that blooms only in underground crypts, this white flower gives off a slight glow. Strengthens spirits. The quaking aspen, yeah. The world's largest living organism, exactly. So yeah, that's kind of how I envision the Erd tree network of roots going. And I think once Godwyn died and Deathroot penetrated the roots of the Erd tree, it says like Marika was driven to the brink after the Night of Black Knives. And I think it's possible, I don't think this is like a definite thing. I think it's possible that the reason she was driven to the brink is that Godwyn's Deathroot started to infiltrate the Erd tree and started to return death into like the Golden Order, and she couldn't have that. So she might have felt pressured to shatter the Elden Ring to perpetuate her order. But I don't know how well that really aligns with Radagon trying to repair it then. And I do think it's possible that Radagon could have been like the Two Fingers aspect of Marika, like controlling her to like do what they wanted. Because she does get punished by the Greater Will and like gets crucified and all that. But I don't really know. And that's kind of like one of the bigger issues I think there is with the lore, that we don't actually know many of the characters' motivations. No, I don't think I can play Banana Moon of Love over the Renala fight, just for the copyright stuff. I don't know though. Oh, stabbed me. I should have slashed before I did that. Okay. Yeah, it's all good, man. Don't worry about that. Aspect says, one thing you could argue about the crypts repeating is that there may be a religious symbolism. Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. But that's just like more of a game design thing. Like, they do have so many crypts that are different that they obviously wanted different layouts to some degree. But I do think it just becomes a bit repetitive when I'm like, oh, hey, look, the staircase. Now I know there's like an alcove. And that's something like I only picked up on after like visiting so many different ones. So we got the Grey Violet, which is another really cool item to me that just doesn't pan out as well as I would like. Oh, those guys dropped down? Okay. And they've already aggroed since we got the music. And once I get to the Imp Stone Keys, I want to go back to the Stranded Graveyard to get like the America's Blessing or whatever it's called, Blessing of the Erd Tree. Didn't we pick up two things? Oh yeah, the Blood Rose. So blood slick roses that bloom in festering blood, material used for crafting items, particularly beloved by those who serve the Lord of Blood. Glory to his inevitable reign. Grey Violet, an embodiment of hatred, a lasting stain upon the land. So this is extremely different from the retail build, which says that it's the hue of Ghost Flame, which isn't exactly true because the Japanese says it's more like the flower of Ghost Flame, which is really disappointing to me. In one of the cases where I preferred the English translation to be more correct than the Japanese, but I'm not going to like actually argue that because I'd just shoot myself in the foot. The reason why I think it'd be really interesting if Ghost or Grey Violets were actually the hue of a Ghost Flame would be because it would mean that like Ghost Flame must have been fundamentally changed, because the Ghost Flame that we find in game is white and black, whereas Grey Violets are violet, you know, so that would be one justification why I think like the Flames of Destined Death could have been purple at one point in development, but maybe it's still canon to some degree, but there's really not a lot of indicators of that in the final build. So how do I get up there? It's been a while since I've been here. No, I pulled the lever, but that should just be the big door. Didn't think there were any hidden walls here. Did I actually look? No, I did not. I did not use my eyes. Look at my Elden Ring PTSD. Checking all these damn quarters for imps. Although I don't think that imps appear in these kinds of crypts, if I remember correctly. Can I confirm or deny the belief that Mohg violates Miquella? I can neither confirm nor deny. People go into that hard, and if true, you blame Martin entirely. I mean, I don't blame people because it does say that, like, Miquella never shared his bloody bedchamber with Mohg. That's pretty damning. Like, let's be honest here. Alright, and so one of the other things about like these kinds of catacombs is we have like all these roots. I was gonna check if this actually has eyes coming out of it as like to be representative of Deathroot. Yeah, so these have eyes. I thought they did. So it's not just like catacombs have Erd Tree roots, they also have like Deathroot coming out of them, which is why we have like all the skeletons attacking us. Grr Martin. I think Epic Name Bro called him Jar Jar Martin, and that has just stuck with me ever since. People on Reddit got real upset about that. I mean, understandably so, especially when like Mikula is literally compared to a literal child. Literal. Literal. I keep using that word. Do not blame people for getting bent out of shape about that. I don't remember that. Okay, so we have a half HP Black Knife Assassin in this build of the game. Maybe it was always like that and I just forgot. But I don't... Like, the first Black Knife Assassin I remember encountering, at least on the retail build, was in Millennia. So I got stabbed, but that wasn't like the Black Knife losing HP effect. Maybe it has some special moves. Maybe this one's like a little bit weaker. I don't want to get like stabbed because I might like get one shot, but... Or grabbed rather than stabbed. .0 isn't retail? I would say no, because like the retail build of the game technically had like the day one patch. So in a certain sense, like, players aren't meant to play this version of the game, even though like this is, you know, a valid version of the game. So when I say retail, I'm kind of referencing like the most current patch available. If that makes sense. Did I see those AI videos about Moog? No. I think I've seen like 2 AI videos where they're just like meme with like the voice actors. Oh, I didn't expect to actually get that backstab. Well, that did like no damage. I should probably take this seriously. Alright, so since I said I'm going to take it seriously and it doesn't seem like this has like a bunch of the Black Knife moves, I'm just going to summon. So Black Mist comes out of the Black Knife Assassin, which isn't too terribly surprising, and you can barely see anything. So interesting that it only had like half of its HP initially. Assassin's Crimson Dagger. Deathroot. So that's our second Deathroot, and we got the Crimson Dagger. A crimson-stained, misshapen assassin's dagger. Critical hits restore HP. This charm is modeled after the darkly gleaming blades used in the Night of Black Knives, those which gave the demigods their first taste of death. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I literally don't remember if there was a Black Knife Assassin here or not. There might have been. It's just been a while. The ability to put out day one patches really did a number on game development. Yeah. There's like a meme that going around yesterday, like the 5 major releases on PC to come out this year from AAA companies, like all shipped in a broken state day one. Feels bad, man. Cantrell doesn't like it because you're not sure it makes sense. You know that Mikula was in the process of changing, and when we see him later, Moog has corrupted him by the blood and in a cocoon. So, like, Moog is trying to slake Mikula's thirst by, like, providing him with blood. But we don't really know if Moog got, like, put into a trance or something like that, or was, like, captivated by Mikula's own power, just kind of, like, running unchecked. Because Mikula has the ability to compel people, especially with the Bewitching branches. So there's the possibility he accidentally charmed Moog, and Moog ruined his own plans. So Mikula might have brought it on himself. Obviously that sounds really bad when you say it out of context, but don't clip that. Alright, so Is there? I don't think there's any other catacombs over here that would have had the Uchigatana. Does anybody actually remember if that was the one that was supposed to have it? The Shunned Catacombs? MQ Ultra, I see what you did there. Yeah, I'm assuming like the DLC is probably going to touch on Mikola. Alright, let's go get the one grace I missed. I should probably just go south. Okay, that is definitely the one that had it. Okay, the dead body wasn't there. Okay, that's what I thought. I just didn't remember the Black Knife Assassin there. There's going to be some different enemies throughout. No, maybe I should just skip the stupid side of grace because it doesn't really have anything. Although, I guess it is by the painting. Okay, whatever. Oh, duh. It's probably faster to just go this way. And up the river and through the woods. I forgot to talk to Yura after Nereus. He might be there. I was too concerned about Patches and Yura forgetting his lines. Assassins can be rough to deal with, especially when accidentally summoning an Electo at level 10 because curious what the jails are. Yeah. Okay, Yura's still here. Sweet.
Ah, we meet again. To have fought Nereus and lived. You must have seen your share of battle. I am Yura, as you might recall. Hunter of bloody fingers, tarnished, held in thrall by cessblood. Zealots, who stalk their own. You stay the path. You're certain to face more of them. Just remember, no kinship with their ilk remains. Their madness precludes it. Don't let your emotions stay your blade.
So Yura has a lot to say, and he kind of pulls a do what I say, not what I do. I talk about this in like my last like major video where he tells us that you can't really reason with the bloody fingers and to not let emotions stay your blade, but that's exactly like what he does when he deals with Eleonora. He doesn't want to kill her, so he might decapitate, or not decapitate, what's the word? Dismember a finger from her to like possibly her violet bloody finger, although if you look at her model, she still has like all 10 fingers. It's whatever. And so he gets got by Eleonora because he's in love with her. So yeah.
Be on your way. Perhaps we will meet again. If fate permits.
Alright, we talked to him here. I'll go probably fight a heal, try to summon him for that next. But let's pick up some of this stuff. Poison Bloom. There's a lot of those who live in death here. But if we go up here, like these little slime things are really interesting to me. These are technically beasts. If you use the allure, like beast alluring pot or whatever it's called, they will get attracted to it. So they're essentially just like beast entrails that just get reanimated somehow, which is kind of how I initially like viewed the Jarmen. I thought because they had human remains like put into them, the human remains just kind of inadvertently reanimated the jars into becoming people. Damn, these things are tanky. And that's kind of how I imagine like these beast things work. Like if something remains dead long enough in the lands between, it doesn't stay dead and it just gets reanimated, probably like through the latent gold within it or something like that. So we should get a beast blood from that. Oh, thin animal bones, which is kind of even easier to like make my point. A great dragonfly head. So I think Shabriri has already possessed Yura at this point. I don't think so. I think it might like take Yura losing his like hope to allow the external possession of Shabriri. What do we have? Head of a large dragonfly, long believed to have the ability to neutralize poisons. Thin, hard animal bones, commonly used to make disposable weapons. So not a lot of info there. And I'm pretty sure up here is just like a dead end. So we just want to go back to the Spirit Spring. Oh no, there's catacombs up here too. I always forget about these ones. But I have no idea what's under here. Murkwater. When I say I have no idea, like I've literally done and gone everywhere in the game, but I just don't remember because there's too much stuff in it. So we got some of the Erdtree Burial Watchdog statues going on. We got the imps because this is a proper catacomb. That's terrifying. And imps don't bleed. Surprised that one didn't get me. Something's still aggro, okay. I should have leveled up. Yeah, okay, I'll go level up and then deal with the imps again. They're weak to fire? The imps are? You do wonder how the body possession of Shibriri and Hayata differ, if at all. Yeah, I wondered that as well. I wish I had a better idea of like how that actually worked. Zoink Scoob. Why am I always like 100 short? It's a good thing like all those like little skulls have pauper runes and stuff. Are those who live in death also attracted to the beast lure or normal alluring pots? No, they're not attracted to anything. What are they supposed to bleed with? Dust? No, like they're... If you remember like the big gigantic pustules in like the Moog place, they're just like gigantic blobs of blood. But these ones are just like beast blood body parts and stuff. There's also blood in bones, so that might also play into things, but I don't know. Alright, now to try out a new build. I need one more strength, so I lied about trying something out. I didn't need 15. Oh, the blobby things. Okay, that makes more sense. Oh, so I could have probably just used the torch. Two-handing is definitely the way to go with the imps, since I don't like get knocked back from hitting them. Alright, well, we're gonna YOLO. Hey, golden one. Damn it. How did that get buffered? I didn't even have like my finger on the trigger at that point. Okay. I don't know what died for me to get that, but I'll take it. You have some solid theories about Hayata and Shibriri's situation, but you want to save it for a future project? I understand that, man. Hey, we got some elder statues. I know these don't activate or like attack you. Oh, it's that way. I thought it was going to come from the other direction, which is really dumb because there's just an empty doorway there. There's a fire pot? I don't remember the imps being so nasty with the projectiles. They might have always been. I know the ones in Langdell were definitely jerks, though. It's kind of dicey there. Okay. Imping ain't easy. Ghost Glovewort? Okay. Oh, they aren't separated. That's interesting. So this is the lily that blooms in underground crypts. It slightly shines with a faded gold glow. Oh, this calls it gold in this version. So the Ghost Glovewort differs in that it has like the little spirit coming out of it. And this will strengthen renowned spirits, what they just called greater spirits in this version, I guess. He should drop the Great Hammer? Okay. Grave Warden Duelist. No, so I think he... Oh yeah, no, you're right. In this version of the game, he drops like the Great Hammer, but I think in the retail one, now he drops Ingval's Ashes? Uh-oh. I was out of stamina, otherwise I could have kept hitting him. I could probably backstab him. Or not. It's a battle hammer. Okay. I was not trying to do that? Okay. A large iron warhammer designed for gladiatorial combat, used by gladiators who once fought for their lives in the Colosseum. Weighty enough to crush armor and the like, it even features a huge beak for piercing attacks. So remember how I said I have no idea what's actually in here? it just took that to jog my memory. So that... The battle hammer was here for like the day one patch, and then they patched in Ingval later on, I'm pretty confident. So you guys should not be able to pick up the battle hammer from this, and I think it just became a random drop. Like I had to get Ingval on my new game plus, because I couldn't get him in my base game because I did this too early. Alright, Ask Next, thank you for joining in, and take care. We will also be going live again tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The hammer isn't really great, but if you fan-wield it, it's great against the miners. Oh, can-wield it. Okay. Katie says, is there a Japanese version of 1.0, and if so, do they have this much cut descriptions? So... There is like the Japanese version of 1.0, but it actually has more updated text than the English version. And like you could, like Lance McDonald talks about this pretty often, or like often enough where like, because like the Japanese devs are, the devs of the game, like the Japanese stuff gets updated before the English stuff, and then they need to like wait for like the translations and everything to get back and then put those into the game. So quite often the most cut content comes from like the English version of the game, which might seem counterintuitive because you'd assume like a Japanese developer would have like cut Japanese content, but it usually gets like already finalized by the time like the game goes gold. So the Japanese stuff is more up to date than what's in the English. So I think, I'm not sure who has like a text dump of the Japanese 1.0 version of the game. I know Carlos Oliveira on my Discord server has access to those files. So if you have questions, you could either ask him or ask me to ask him, and I might be able to look at specific things. But generally, I don't think there were like a ton of substantial differences in the Japanese 1.0 versus the English one. But I also haven't been able to like do a direct comparison to say for sure. So sorry for that kind of long-winded response to what might have seemed like a fairly straightforward question. So we get our Homing Instinct painting. I think this got renamed in Nostalgia, which doesn't surprise me because like Homing Instinct and Nostalgia are kind of similar, but not. Alrighty. So even though I didn't really mean to go like down to the Murkwater Catacombs, I think it's pretty good because that is like one thing that actually is kind of different in 1.0. So next we'll go to Arena's place, and I'll read the Golden Firefly. So this is a firefly that gives off a golden light. Material used in crafting items found near bodies of water close to minor Erd trees. The light of fireflies is believed to have an alluring magic. Golden light is considered to invite runes. Does this actually still have the part about the minor Erd trees? I'm gonna actually look this up. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it did, I just don't remember it. So I looked at the silver firefly quite a lot because that was a little bit baffling in terms of like comparing it to like the glintstone one and the golden one. So okay, no, it's the same. The exact same. Right, Katie said, that makes sense. You think you said before on Discord that you think a lot of the 1.0 shenanigans are come out of the cutting corners so that the game could come out earlier. It's not necessarily like cutting corners. It's like the Japanese devs, if they finalize the text, they expect like the translation companies to like, you know, finish their product by like a certain deadline. So even if the English stuff isn't finalized when the game goes gold, they should be able to like get enough of the work done between the game going gold and the day one patch, so that way like people can still like play the game as the developers intended it. So that's why like the 1.0 stuff is like more akin to cut content, even though like you can make the argument that it's kind of not cut content because like I'm playing the game right now. Like I didn't do anything special. Like if I didn't have an internet connection, this would be the only way I could play the game. I might have enough to level up now. Let's go ahead and do it. Okay. Spinning slash. I don't think I've ever used the Twin Blade on horseback, so that seems pretty decent. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Holy crap, that's really cool. Oh yeah, this is probably something worth like talking about. This is the Bridge of Sacrifice. I'm not dual handing. Get our Darth Maul going on. I wish you could activate this. Ow. Yeah, that feels really cool. And so the Bridge of Sacrifice, this is like a different part of Godric's kingdom, I guess if you could call it that. When you look at the bridge, the banners have been like strung up and they're all tattered. I do think like going into Castle Morn and stuff, it is going to be more apparent that like it was not originally like Godric's fiefdom, and probably not even Godfrey's fiefdom. Like we'll get to like the monument that might say that Godric essentially took over everything, but yeah. The highway that stretches from Lane Dell does eventually come down here to Castle Morn, and that's where it ends. So you can't see, I don't think this actually has the cobblestones that have like the symbols on it, but I think they like pick back up further on. Like where the highway ends is so weird to me for multiple reasons, and I'll talk about that in a little bit here. I'm heavy. Damn, okay. Right on the cusp. So I'll need to level a little bit more endurance next. Hoping for a Godskin canvas painting in the DLC. Alright, so now we can go talk to Irina. If I had like the Frenzy Stones, I'd show like she doesn't get affected by them, but it doesn't really matter. When you look at Irina, she's virtually identical to Hayata. I think there was like one ever so slight difference, but I don't actually remember what it is off the top of my head. But it's essentially the same model. It has the same voice actress. So I don't think there's really much reason to assume they're meant to be different people. One of the weirder things is when Irina does die, her corpse stays here, and then you can go visit Hayata elsewhere. While Hayata is alive, you can always examine Irina's corpse and it'll say like she's dead, which is kind of vexing. But as soon as Hayata gets killed, the prompt to examine Irina's corpse disappears. So I don't know like how much of that is like dev intended, but it does show like there is like an explicit connection between the two, I think. That's a little bit more metagamey. And not like my favorite kind of like way to like analyze the lore, but
hello?
We work with what we have.
Is somebody there? Might I bend your ear for a moment, please? My name is Irina. I've escaped from Castle Morn to the south. The servants there have rebelled. I can't be sure what it is. My eyesight's been weak since birth, you see. But I swear I heard frightful howling from all over. My good father secreted me out the castle, but decided himself to stay. He says it's his duty. As commander, I fear for father's life. The servants are full wrath, filled with hatred for every one of us. They've since come for every one of the companions I escaped with. They haven't spared a soul. I fear it's no different at Castle Morn. Please, I implore you, would you mind taking a letter to my father at the castle? My sole wish is that he escape, even if his honor should be the price. Please. I just want him to be safe.
So you can deliver the letter or refuse. We'll be able to deliver it in a second anyway, so just refuse for now.
I understand. I fear some of the castle's servants are still prowling nearby. Do take care on the road. I pray your journey comes to fruition. And if you happen to change your mind, please come to see me again.
Cute glasses waifu, welcome back in. Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to mention next. Like, go figure, Irina comes from Castle Morn. For those who've played Dark Souls 3, those are character names from Dark Souls 3. So.
Hello? Is somebody there? Ah, you're the one from before, aren't you? Please, I implore you, would you mind taking a letter to my father at the castle? My sole wish is that he escape, even if his honor should be the price. Please. I just need him to be safe. Thank you. Dearly. Then please, take this.
Irina's letter. One thing that I do like about Irina is that she doesn't actually look at the player character because she's blind. Or blindfolded, at least.
Deliver it to my father, who remains in the castle, If you please. Please. If you wouldn't mind, he can be stubborn.
Oh, she does say something slightly else.
Stubborn. But I'm sure he'll come around.
Okay. So that's pretty much that with Arena for now. Katie says she has an altered dress as Hyetta, that she has like more like fluffy pauldrons or something. I'll try to pay attention to that the next time I look at Hyetta. A letter from Arena. Arena has requested it be delivered to her father, who remains in Morn's castle. So that's just kind of like a localization difference, typo, and something that they ironed out throughout development. Miracle Braille kind of fitting, yeah. Alright, so yeah, now as we look down at the highway, we've got the cobblestone repeating. So Langdell had a highway going to Castle Morn at some point in history. So as we look by Arena, we've also got the Godric boys face down on the ground. They were most likely gotten by like all the demi-humans and stuff over here. Were there demi-humans or just dogs? I don't remember. So this is a caravan that probably got assailed by something. Large smithing stone shard. Isn't this one supposed to be the Morning Star? Or is that further on? Okay, so we do have the demi-humans over here. You can see them hacking the corpses and me getting hacked by the corpse dog. Brutal. I'm gonna get like YouTube violence struck for that. Not really. So, what are these called? Misbegotten are touched by the crucible. They're like kind of like more primitive forms of life, more devolved. They're kind of like chimeras in terms of like having little wings and tails. These dudes never talk with the exception of Hugh. Hugh is technically a misbegotten. The term that they use for it in Japanese is more like the mixed race. So, like, it's a little bit unfortunate that those connotations don't remain in the English to realize that, like, there's something added to them to be mixed, I think, is kind of like what the Japanese gets across that just doesn't hit the same way in English. So, it's night. We should eventually get a Knight Rider cavalry. Oh, it's late night. Maybe not. That's actually pretty effective. Mighty shot. And so we should have the Site of Grace right there, and this dude will probably disappear in the midst of me trying to fight him. So I'm gonna switch over to Knight real quick, and I'll fight this Knight's cavalryman, and then the Deathbird a little bit beyond that, after talking to this nomadic merchant.
Buying or selling?
Hey Crunchy, nice to see you. Thanks for dropping in. Morningstar is there in retail. Okay. So I didn't rest, did I? Okay. I'll go back and double check to see if there's anything there that I may have missed and may want. So he sells those for 2,000. Okay. Oh boy, I was not ready for this. Alright, I'll leave that alone for a second. I'll look at the other items. Crimson Amber Medallion. A medallion with Crimson Amber inlaid. Boosts max HP. The Erdtree's old sap becomes amber, treasured as the most precious of jewels in the age of Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. A primordial life energy resides inside. So this is pretty important in terms of like establishing that the sap and the amber flowed during the time of Godfrey, and we don't really get references to that during the time of the Golden Order. That doesn't mean that it didn't happen during the time of the Golden Order, but it's explicitly part of like Godfrey's reign, which I think is important. Heater shield, nothing really. A round shield is a wooden round shield that has been reinforced with metal. Being a medium-sized shield, it is relatively lightweight and easy to wield, but it lacks a true metal shield's ability to negate damage. We've already looked at that one since we're the samurai. An exceedingly plain spear of modest weight. Simple to wield compared to many of its brethren, heavy attack unleashes a series of consecutive piercing thrusts. Battle Axe. A thick, heavy blade attached to a handle, a versatile weapon, this is the most commonly seen variety of axe. Capable of powerful attacks thanks to the weighty blade, these weapons are also regarded for their powerful charge attacks. Mace. Striking attacks have few drawbacks, potent as they are at breaking through guards and stances, most suited to head-on slugging matches. A longsword. In addition to its easily inflicted standard damage, this weapon also boasts powerful piercing attacks, a superbly balanced armament. So yeah, that stuff's all pretty straightforward. Crunchy, I'm curious how your 1.0 playthrough is going. Hopefully that's going well for you. Did you finish yet, or are you still looking at a bunch of stuff? So blood grease. Blistered solid grease made from a mixture of blood and other materials. Craftable. Coats weapon, inflicting hemorrhages. The blistered blood breaks the skin, causing severe lacerations, known to be the weapon of choice of schemers and malcontents since ages past. Boluses made from green cave moss, cures poison ailment and relieves poison buildup. Poison accumulates gradually, coming into effect once the threshold is reached. Poison ailment lowers HP in steady increments for a period. Red boluses relieves hemorrhage. A hemorrhage builds up slowly, causing great damage once the threshold is reached. Take one of these in timely fashion to avoid such an event. If only hemorrhage built up slowly, like the cemetery shades just delete you. I do wish that there was better bleed defense if you were guarding with the shield. I think bleed is too strong in this game, to be honest. Although they did nerf it recently, I don't know how much it actually got nerfed. Still extremely strong though, I think. I'm not worried about that. Yeah, that's all pretty much just no flavor text. Okay. Alright, let me get some water before I talk about this turtle thing, and then also catch up with you guys. 1 second. It'd be a lot nicer if there's actual VFX for the Misbegotten chopping up the bodies. It'd be dark. But also, totally on theme for FromSoft. They also have bestial features, which might have also made them divine, since people seem to have worshipped beasts before the Erd Tree. Yeah, that's also, a good point. Them being attached to the Crucible, and the Crucible, essentially being the Erd Tree during the time of Godfrey. They were most likely considered divine and stuff, to some degree. Until the age got changed. You'd love to see an LP Crunchy collab? Thanks. Crunchy went through most of everything, still a few loose ends to check out, plus you didn't spend the time to farm certain things. Oh, it's totally understandable. I've played through it twice, but kind of only scratched the surface of 1.0 because the game is just really, really big, and there's no need to go see everything yourself, especially since we've got the 1.0 text comparison spreadsheet. So, okay. Here we go. Turtleneck meat, pickled in a bitter medicinal solution. Craftable item. Boost stamina recovery for a short time. The nutrients churn through the body, practically boiling out heat from the core. Wait. Oh, because this one's pickled. I was thinking of the other turtleneck meat. Okay. So, maybe I'll go find a turtle for you guys, since I've, hyped it up so much. I'm gonna get the life rune, or life talisman, and then
Not finished yet.
go check for any chests. Turn to night, and then deal with those bosses, and find a turtle real quick. Oh yeah. Oh wait, no, I can't equip it. Okay. I'm right at the threshold of what I can use. Yeah, the normal meat for the lore. Not all hype for nothing, crisis averted. Yeah, I didn't think there was anything else over here. So yeah, okay. So I know like a lot of people will beeline it for the Morning Star here, because that can give you a really early bleed weapon to deal with rune farming from Grail. Oh sweet, but we got a strip of white flesh. I don't know how this weapon works, and I'm getting deleted by dogs. Okay, good enough. So I think if I round the corner, we should be able to find turtles, like, kind of immediately. If not, I jump up and then go down. So let's go up first, because the cavalry guy will chill there for a little bit. So no turtles down there, if I remember. So where would the fastest turtle spot be? I know we've got the star colors down there. I don't know if they'll summon an Alabaster Lord in this version. Seek 3 wise beasts. But this would not be the kind of turtle that I need. I know the one is hidden around here somewhere. Yep, spirit turtle. I forgot about this side of Grace. So there is an Alabaster Lord down there, or something like that. I don't know why the star colors are like T-posed, though. It's a little weird. Alright, so I'm gonna teleport... maybe here? I don't think there's turtles over here. But there should be some like around there, right? Maybe that's the better spot. There's the land octopus. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of easy to miss pointless ones. North of Ella, there's one? Okay. Oh, yeah, that little like pond. Thank you. The funny thing is, like, we're gonna kill a turtle or 3 and not get any necks with our luck. Oh, that's land squirt. Oh yeah, we did get white flesh though. That's what I was gonna look at. So thin strips of flesh taken from a bloodless creature, material used for crafting items. The dried meat toughens the constitution. So not like super important at like face value, but the funny thing is, like, if a creature drops a strip of white flesh, that would mean it's a bloodless creature. And that's not like a mistranslation or anything. That's like literally what the Japanese says. But some of these bloodless creatures would be like the turtles, the land sprouts, or whatever they're called. Land squirts, rather. And things like that. So what are they called? The octopus? The octopi? Land octopi. They also are bloodless creatures, and that gets a little bit fleshed out, I guess, pun intended, with their inability to reproduce on their own, and they need to absorb human blood to do that. Hey, Sundry, nice to see you again. Protein. Protein. This just reminds me of the Greninja. In fact, I don't think there's any turtles here, or are there? Okay, okay. No, Crunchy pulled through. Poor dog. Hey, okay. We got the turtleneck meat and the strip of white flesh. So, as good a drop as we could ask for. It would just be material. A splendid, lengthy cut of turtleneck meat. Turtle meat is said to boost virility, but none in the lands between seem to have much appetite for it these days. In lands between, the urge to reproduce has waned long ago. So, pretty straightforward there. It's saying that like there's not much of a drive to reproduce in the lands between anymore. That doesn't mean that there isn't any reproduction anymore, which I think some people have like taken from this description. Because Raya would have been born after the shattering, after like Rykard transformed to like make all this the Snake Men. But there's also the argument that that's like a different kind of birth. So maybe that shouldn't count. I don't know. Like it just kind of comes up to individual interpretation. But this item description has sort of been cut. And there's always like the question of whether it was cut for a reason. So take it with a grain of salt. And take that grain of salt, put it in a jar and pickle it, I guess. To get the pickled turtle meat. Katie says, Starcaller's T-pose because they want to imitate Radigan, who himself was the Starcaller of the Elden Beast. Duh, source, you made it up. Yeah, and as Crunchy said, Melina says births continue. But I mean, people would argue that she's saying like in the future, in the dawn of the next age, as opposed to like now. I don't necessarily take that reading of it, but you know how people can be. There's no boss music for this Night Cavalryman. That's interesting. I don't remember what this one has. I should probably get off the horse and attack him. And upgrade my weapon, because I'm not going to do a ton. I whiffed. Oh, that sucks. Okay, so that pretty much goes like straight down. So I need to be like pretty much on top of something for that one specifically. Let's see how the R1 works. Seems like it'd be pretty good for like the cavalryman attack. I can't even summon my skeletons for this. That's kind of interesting. There's no rebirthing monument nearby. You always wondered if there's a link between Raya and Shabriri via the data card in Shabriri's woe? Yeah. They do seem like they should be related. But we don't know. The past version has that track that kind of sounds like the Skyrim battle music. Yeah. They updated a... Wait, what? Barricade shield. I thought he should still have like a lot of HP. Like, he wasn't low enough to just get got like that, was he? Now I'm gonna have to like fight all the Knights Cavalrymen to see if that's a thing. I wasn't paying too much attention because I was reading chat. Oh yeah, and Katie brings up an interesting point about birth continuing outside lands between. I think that's kind of fair, and I didn't think about that. A skill made famous by Sir Neidhart. So he might appear in the DLC because it's a random name that we have no idea who that has to deal with, but not too much info with that. So next we should be fighting a death bird. Not a death right bird, but a normal death bird if I remember correctly. We'll get the map fragment over here as well. So one of the other things about like coming towards Castle Morn is we still have a lot of the crumbling ruins of Farum Azula dotting the landscape, which might relate to like where and or when Godfrey fought the Stormlord perhaps, and or the Lord of Castle Morn. But it is also weird to me, just like the location of, like, of a lot of the monuments of like where it says Godfrey like ended his reign, like by the smoldering church. When it talks about like him losing his fighting drive. Oh yeah, I should show off some of their effects. So to finish off like the Godfrey thing, like he lost his will to fight after like the Morn stuff, it sounds like. But then like why would his campaign end near the smoldering church? Unless like maybe Farum Azula was in the sky up there and then he like ended his campaign over there and like it fell after the fact. I don't know. But I think that could also just show like the monuments aren't like chronologically placed, or they could just be like inaccurate kinds of things, or just like part of a misinformation campaign for like the Golden Order and stuff. All right, so with that being said, if you look at the Deathrite Bird, rather than having like the white black flames that would be more typical of like the current build of the game, these ones have like red flames. And if we fight a Deathrite Bird, its wings won't be like tinged with blue, they'll be like kind of tan and like yellow. So that little screeching attack that it does right there can inflict Deathblight, which is really fascinating to me because in a certain sense you wouldn't consider like the Death Birds to be related to Deathblight, since that should be like Godwin and stuff. And the Death Birds predate the Erd Tree according to a couple descriptions. Alright, so that should be enough of its attacks. Okay, so that's the Deathblight status effect buildup. Sorta glad that that happened, that we could show that off. But also a little annoying to get hit. Keep rolling, man, come on. I rolled too soon. Casually starts fighting a Deathbird. I was hoping like the golem arrows could hit it. Oh, I'm out of juice. I am out of juice. Oh, I shouldn't be doing that. But I did it anyway. That feels awesome. Always finishing a fight off like that. Sacrificer's Axe. So that's a different name. Slightly different. I think it's just called Sacrificial Axe. I like this. This looks like really goofy. You can kind of see like the bird opening its mouth on the right. I'll probably equip it to show that off, actually. A hatchet used in ancient sacrificial rite. A death raptor is depicted as a malevolent deity. Power from the right still remains. A small amount of FP is restored upon slaying a foe. So I did equip this, right? Yeah. Oof, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. So, like, if you look at it, you can, like, kind of see the bird's head and, like, beak looking like it's, like, vomiting the edge of the blade almost. So I wondered if that axe is supposed to be related to, like, Roses specifically, although there is, like, the other, like, Axe of Roses or whatever it's called. We get some tarnished golden sunflowers. Yeah, I was like, I wonder. It just disappeared. I was gonna pull out the telescope and look at it. I really don't want to get got by this thing right next to the castle. So I'm gonna go rest before dealing with that golem, which doesn't respawn if I remember correctly, which is kind of interesting. The hardest boss in FromSoft is the camera. True story. Katie had a thought about that. Is that the god of the Deathbirds is Godwin after his soul got sent beyond time after death? But there's honestly no pretty way to explain that because of the Godwin and Deathbird connection. I don't know about that because, like, the Deathbirds are said to come before the time of the Erd Tree. Like, you could also make the argument that Godwin must have been born before the Erd Tree. There's nothing, like, for or against it. Other than, like, potentially being America's oldest. But that would be, like, my major concern about that interpretation. Jay Moore, welcome in. He said, the first restoration on death is neat. Only items you know of that have similar effects are ancestral-related items. Yeah, so FP restoration is also very rare. Like, the other Deathbird items have it, like the talismans. One will restore FP, which is also kind of related to, like, the Black Knife. Why didn't I think about that? Wait, no, those are different items, aren't they? Or did they get reworded? Whatever, we'll figure it out, like, further on in the playthrough. Let's see if we can read this monument. So no, we can't read this monument either in this version of the game. Interesting. Now, that actually makes me wonder if these were interactable in Japanese. I kind of doubt it, because it would be like an event flag, but who knows. And we picked up the tarnished golden sunflower. Alright, Crunchy, thank you for dropping in. We'll probably be ending soon as well, to be honest. And you take care. This is a large flower that blooms facing the Erd Tree, material used for crafting items, exceedingly rare to find. Though wilted and faded, it still retains holy essence. So that's the same, and I think that it's a really important item because it shows, like, even if something is faded, which is, like, kind of the word for tarnished in Japanese, it still does have that holy essence. So as we go into, like, Castle Morn, it tends to have more of an older architectural style than other castles like Stormvale, and so you can tell it from the masonry and all that. And I forgot to, like, point out, oh no, it's because of the golem. I forgot to point out, like, the highway does come to an end towards Castle Morn, but the thing that's really weird to me about that highway is that it ends at the rampart of Castle Morn in a place that doesn't actually have a gate. So that's just, like, one of the weirder things about, like, FromSoft's architectural design, and a little bit of why I take, like, all kind of architectural analyses with, like, a heavy grain of salt, is because, like, a lot of it doesn't make sense. And obviously, like, people always, like, make the joke, like, there's no toilets in video games, which is kind of true to an extent. But yeah. Anyway, so this is the highway, and this is the one that stretches up to Lane Dell and goes through, like, Raya Lucaria, and then it comes to an abrupt end at this broken part of the Castle Morn ramparts. So between that and it having an older an older Elden Ring design on it, it does make me think that like we are not really given the full story of like what goes on with like the Godfrey America timeline and like the War of the Giants and all that stuff. Which I mean shouldn't really come as a surprise because like there's like the mentions of the Godslayer Great Sword and like the Gloam-Eyed Queen and all that. Katie says, you mean that after death, Godwyn exists outside of time, kind of like Platypus, and that's why he could interact with the world before he was even born. That goes a little bit beyond the text for me to be comfortable with. Stella says, unless it's Fallout, then the bathrooms are for environmental storytelling. To be fair, Final Fantasy VII does have bathrooms. And toilets, and people actually, like, utilizing them. But not all games can quite live up to that standard. All right, so I think this is a pretty good stopping point for tonight's stream. We've been going for almost 3.5 hours. I think next time we'll go through Castle Morn and talk to Edgar, Irina's dad, and we'll probably finally like visit the Round Table Hold and then go do like the Millicent stuff in Caelid. So for all of you who've joined in so far, thank you. I appreciate it. Whether you're lurking or commenting, thank you very much. You all have a good night, and hopefully we'll see you next time when we go live tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care. Last Protagonist out.